word for me. What did we get in Hoima? What did we get? What did we get in Hoima? We got what? Now we need. When I gave you almost 90. I know. I accepted before election. I said the Bank will be to be.
Honorable members, Mr. Speaker.
Prayers.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with abundant favor these your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their charge. Amen.
Item 2 on the other paper, communication from the chair.
Honorable colleagues, I welcome you to today's sitting. I want to, first on a sad note, we have two colleagues who lost their parents. Honorable Tayebwa Habat Kashonji lost a mother last evening, and Honorable Bijirwa Nora Nyendoha lost a father. Also, last evening I talked to her this morning. She was crestfallen, and it's always important for us to recognize such. And I request you that we first observe a minute of silence.
May their souls rest in eternal peace.
Colleagues, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate His Excellency the President on his successful re-election into office, and all other presidential candidates that participated in the election. I also want to congratulate you, honorable colleagues, who made it to the August House once again and also our colleagues who didn't make it, to come back here. We know you're already leaders. You will remain part of this family, and we shall continue working with you. As the leadership of Parliament, we would want to have efforts which would be aimed at ensuring that colleagues will remain family, even outside here. Because we have those who have been going, coming back, they lose today, the next time they win. You know, it's very important to remain in touch. And that's why we worked out mechanisms to ensure that at least we'll be able to give you the minimum assistance, even when you are outside of this house. So I hope we shall continue engaging to see which better way for this family to remain, you know, even outside the house, to remain in a honorable state, despite the challenges that would be coming up. Honorable colleagues, last year we were unable to hold our end of year party because we were all running up and down. We were busy in our constituencies. So as the leadership of Parliament, we decided that we should have a party for you. So that is a combination of end of year and beginning of the year. So we shall have it tomorrow at 5 p.m. at South Wing Ground Parking. I therefore invite you to attend, and we shed off the stress that we got from the field. Colleagues, I'll be amending the order paper to allow laying of reports by the Auditor General for the last financial year. There are some reports which came in today, and we feel we should work on them right away. Then also, I'm happy the Minister for Finance is here, and I want to urge, I know we have the statutory timelines that are clearly provided for in as far as the budgeting process is concerned. Ministerial policy statements should be here by 15th of March. Alternative statements from the opposition by 29th of March. Annual budget estimates together with the tax bills by 1st of April, and then the budget by 31st of May. But as you know, we are in a transition period. A new government will be coming in. So we shall be, as the leadership of the House, we decided we should prorogue the House by the end of April. And that means we should have finished the budget. So, Honorable Minister, we shall request you go back, you work in overdrive, and we see how best you can be generous enough to squeeze and get for us some time so that we are able to prorogue the House after we have processed the budget. And I know it's tough on you, but when you bring them here, we shall also work in overdrive here. And we shall be giving honorable colleagues enough time. We shall reduce on activities of plenary so that you can concentrate more on activities of the committees, process the budget, and we come to plenary when we are just completing that. Colleagues, that's my communication. Reaction, Leader of Opposition, then Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to join you in welcoming colleagues back to the House. I'll be hesitant for now to pass on congratulatory messages because I believe there is still some issues to be taken care of. But anyhow, it's good that we are back. Some people aside have not congratulated them. It's okay. You have people to congratulate you. Right, Honorable Speaker? Please protect me from members who want me to congratulate them by force, right, Honorable? I certainly cannot congratulate anyone by force.
Colleagues, congratulations are voluntary. Okay, so we have congratulated Honorable Joel.
Who?
I have congratulated.
Oh, you did? I didn't hear that, Right Honorable.
They might be having issues as a leader of opposition. This side.
Anyhow, Right Honorable Speaker, I wanted to react to your communication and also seek for some guidance. Last week we were here briefly as we were sending off our colleague, the Honorable Stella Isodo. We had just come out of the election. I did raise some critical concerns. The view of the presiding officer was that let me raise them at our next sitting today so that we get some guidance. We want to be able to move without baggage. When we take care of this baggage, it becomes easy to deal with the business that we have got to take care of, Right Honourable Speaker. We have just come out of an election. And regardless who you ask, by the way, whether it be me or colleagues on this side, whether it be colleagues on this end, whether it be bystanders, there are issues that are of critical concern that we need to address as a country. I'm hoping colleagues have taken time to read reports, observer reports, because the Electoral Commission did accredit observers to observe our elections. And they released reports. Please take time to read them. When you read the African Union Observer Report, Interreligious Council of Uganda, and so on, and they raise critical issues, which I believe this parliament has got to interest itself in. Issues to do with the credibility of our election, issues to do with brutality before, during, and after the election. By the way, for information to colleagues, the election is not just an event. It's a process. Campaigns are part of the election. And how they are conducted, how candidates are treated or otherwise, that's part of the election itself. And it feeds into the credibility issues that we are raising. So the brutality, people killed, candidates ill-treated, and so on, critical concerns that have got to be addressed by this parliament. People are still abducted. Right Honourable Speaker, on the eve of the election, colleague leaders in my political party, one, our Deputy President in charge of Western Uganda, Jolie Jacqueline Tukamushaba, a lady who is well known to you, was abducted. To date, her whereabouts are not known. The Honorable Lina Zedriga, our Deputy President in charge of Northern Region, was abducted on election eve. To date, her whereabouts are not known. A gentleman called John Mary Sebuf, who is a councillor, and several others. You see the challenge about these issues. We keep raising them, and some colleagues say, but you are pestering us. Yes, we shall pester using this platform that we have. It is unacceptable that people get abducted and their whereabouts are not known for one day, for a week, come into 2 weeks. Why can't people be produced in court? Government needs to help us understand. I'm not above the law. No one is. I can be suspected to have committed an offense. But what does the law say? Arrest me vis-a-vis the law, produce me in a court of law. But when you hold me somewhere, family cannot access me, lawyers cannot access me. What do you want us to do? What do you want people to do? And when you complain about these issues, some people think we are being too much. Perhaps until it happens to you. And it has happened to colleagues, by the way, across the aisle. So these are critical issues. First, detach the political affiliation and whatever you think is the reason for this person's arrest. But can the law prevail? And these concerns have got to be addressed, Right Honourable Speaker. Hundreds of people arrested, polling agents, people held in police cells for more than the 48 hours that are allowable within the law. That is not proper. And when we raise these issues, let's address them as people's representatives. Forget that I am NUP or NRM, because it can happen to any of us. These foundational principles have got to be respected and fought for by all of us in this room, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I saw and I see the good doctor, Minister of Information, is here with us. My party leader, after the election, his house was raided, the Honourable Chagulanyi Sentamu Robert, who is an OB of this house. He managed to sneak away. I kept seeing the military, I kept seeing the Minister of Information here saying no one is after him. But as they were saying that, the military was continuously descending on his home, raided it, broke into it, beat up his wife and family members. And the following day, the minister and other dignitaries were saying, no one is after this man. I said, look, just like I have made it succinctly clear, no one is above the law. If there is an offense that the Honorable Chagulanyi Sentamu Robert is suspected of having committed, whether it be running for president, some people think it is an offense. that you can challenge the Bush war general, and so it's an offense. Whatever offense it is, why don't summons get to be issued to him? So that then he's able to show up and is charged. Honorable Speaker, yesterday, his siblings tried to access his home. After the minister again said, no, all is well, people can access. His siblings went there yesterday. And police officers, several of them deployed there, they said, we don't have authority to allow anybody to access his place. I want to know, is it official that the Honorable Kyagulanyi Sentamu Robert is under house arrest? And for that matter, people cannot access his family. And for that matter, it should continue this way. Because why are you not summoning him if there's a particular offense that he has committed? And again, Honorable Speaker, let's forget that this is the leader of the NUP, which you might not like. That's okay. But this is a Ugandan. This is a leader for all intents and purposes. Why is the law operating this way? And Honorable Speaker, the good minister here has got experience with the law being absquatulated. He suffered a similar fate when he was abducted. He was taken away for days on end. His family members were looking for him. Colleagues in this house spoke out on the Hansard, by the way. They said, where is Honorable Chris Baryomunsi? Government, where have you taken him and all the others? People fought for you. Yes. Until eventually, government, due to the pressure exerted by members here and elsewhere, they produced the gentleman in court. But we're saying, why were you hiding him wherever and treating him the way they were? Right, Honorable Speaker.
Conclude, Lord.
The final issue which I think this House has got to be addressed on. We were here a few months ago. Government came to us with a supplementary budget, as they normally do. And we are going to have several others. I normally tell the Minister of Finance, why don't you plan properly? When you keep bringing here supplementary budgets for obvious things, it is quixotic. Anyhow, they brought us supplementary and said we need to purchase these machines. I and the Hansard can really, bear me witness. I said, look, we want to purchase these machines expensively at this point in time. What has changed? In the last election, we used these machines. They failed to function. The census came around. The machines failed to function. And now government was telling us, here is the panacea to vote rigging. And it was interesting that government was conceding that they preside over a government that allows vote rigging and all of these different things. And they said, now we have a solution so that votes will not be rigged by government officials, because government is the one in charge anyway. These machines, when you see how much we spent on them, it was nearly 400 billion shillings. Part of that was to purchase the machines. Part of that was to train operators. The other was to hire people who were going to operate them. The other billions were to integrate features on the ballot paper so that when you scan it with the machine, it functions. All of that came at a cost. But alas, on election day, the machines failed to work. And we said, wait a minute, how come they have been functional? Honorable Speaker, we were here in the conference hall. The Electoral Commission officials came very excited and they presented to members of Parliament. Some of you were there. And the machines functioned. And members were happy. Of course, others were sad, saying, so if this thing functions properly, will I survive? I saw those concerns from members. But we're saying technology is a good thing in this day and era. But we go to election day and the machines fail to operate. By 11, by midday, people were not voting. And the Electoral Commission issued a statement and said, okay, let's go back to the register. I said, what happened? We need an answer because we spent billions of taxpayers' money. Is it that fake machines were procured? That means somebody has got to be held responsible. Is it that good functional machines were procured? However, they were frustrated from working. We need to know. The interesting thing, Right Honourable Speaker, 2 days ago, we were voting for the last batch of local government leaders. I saw the machines were functional. So I asked, what miracle has happened? That the machines which failed to work at presidential and parliamentary, district chairpersons, lord mayors, and so on, now when we are doing the last leg, the final one, the machines functioned. Government needs to bring us up to speed. What happened? Because a loss was occasioned for the first elections. So all of a sudden they began to function. Was the problem fixed? Did we purchase new ones? Or did we say maybe for these particular elections, these last local government elections, there is no problem. The machines can work. There's not much interest. We want to know, because I get the feeling that the machines were conveniently defective.
Lope.
As I wrap up, Right Honourable Speaker. And I thank you for being patient with me, because these issues are critical, of concern not just to us here. Honourable Speaker, you're not seeing colleagues on this end. A number of them are happy I'm raising these issues. They fear to raise them, but they're happy I'm representing them now. Yes, because for you, are you not bothered that 400 billion shillings was misused? It went down the drain. Would that not build roads in your constituency? Fix hospitals? Because whenever, during the budget process, and you're going to see, members across will be standing up, my road, it has been on promise, it's been on waiting list for a long time. This money would fix those things. But now it went down the drain. Right Honourable Speaker, we need answers to these questions. I thank you.
Thank you. On BVVK, the Minister for Justice should come and bring a formal statement, because you know some of these things raised are so critical. You don't need to just answer anyhow without very clear consultations. And I heard government was saying they are even doing they were doing investigations. So I think that would give them, no, it is under Electoral Commission. So it's the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs who is in charge of the Electoral Commission that should answer that one of the machines. Now, I'll first call on the Minister for Internal Affairs, then the Minister for Information and National Guidance. No, issues of accessibility of the home of the Leader of Opposition. All right, Honourable Prime Minister, you're welcome. Because they were saying they went, police was blocking them and all that. Is Chagwanya under house arrest and all that? Maybe the Minister for Internal Affairs can clarify on that. And then the Minister for Information, who was rescued by this house according to the Leader of Opposition sometime back, can come and thank us. Minister for Internal Affairs. You see, Honourable, no, you are telling me information, now you've changed procedure, but I will allow you, Honourable. Just let me first allow the ministers, then I will allow you. Honourable Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members, I also want to congratulate all of you who made it through, including, but not limited to, the Leader of Opposition, who by his account, this was an unfair process, but nevertheless, he made it. He talked about many things, including that the home of the Honorable Chagulanyi is a prison. But I want to say that, first of all, a prison presupposes that there are prisoners in a premise. That home is not a gazetted prison. The Honorable Chagulanyi himself is not there. So I want to state categorically that that home is not a prison. There may be inconveniences, and security may have reasons for their presence there. I think those ones we can iron out, but the home of the Honorable Chagulanyi is not a prison. 2, abductions. We don't abduct, we arrest. If you breach the law, you get arrested. And we can account for all those people under custody. They may delay to be produced, but we don't abduct as government. Thank you.
Honourable Minister for Information, and then you can come.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I also take the opportunity to congratulate colleagues who went through and thank whoever participated. I think many of the issues to do with the arrests, the Minister of Internal Affairs has commented. But just to recap what I told the country as the Minister of Information, is that there are no charges being preferred against the Honorable Chagulanyi. And the state is not looking for him. He's a free man. That's the point I made. He chose on his own volition to go into hiding. The state is not interested in him. Otherwise, the state would pick him from wherever he is, because we know. We have technology to trace people. But because we are not interested in him, that's why I said he's free to be in his home. At the moment, he's not at the home, but he's free anytime and members of his family. There is a light deployment at his home, not to harass anybody, but for Ugandans not to use the home as a public disorder hub for purposes of security. There are security interests. And therefore, there is some access control. Because again, also when the head of the home is not there, you wouldn't want the whole crowd of Ugandans to just swim there. So there's some control, but harmless. So, leader of opposition, your leader is not wanted by the state, and advise him to be at home, provided he doesn't engage in law breaking. There is no problem with that. Secondly, it is not true that I have ever been abducted by this government. In 2012, we had an issue in this house where a colleague died in circumstances which were not clear. I was tasked by the House as a commissioner of Parliament to be part of the team to find out what had happened. Unfortunately, there was like a misunderstanding between the government and us in the Parliament, and I was arrested on my way to Fort Portal and detained at the Ginger Road Police Station, produced in the Uganda Road Court, given bail, and for 9 months we battled with the government, and I defeated the government and forgave the government. Yes. And actually, Mr. General Kare Kaihura apologized to me officially, because I also told the president that I am a qualified medical doctor, and I knew what I was doing in that investigation. I remember we had an argument before, and I told him I will defeat you in the court, because I am a senior doctor, highly qualified, by the way, and there is no law I had broken, and indeed, court agreed with me. So insinuations that I was abducted, I know the Honorable Semuju wants to use it all the time and the opposition, but that one is long past, so I just wanted to clarify. And I was working as a commissioner.
Point of order.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, I have not said anything since I came here. But the Honorable Chris Bariomunsi, who was charged for stealing Nebanda's body parts, wants to draw me in an argument where I am not a party. I went to see him at Ginger Road Police, where they had denied him even sandals. And I followed this matter up to court, stood with him. Is he in order not to thank me, but to keep dragging me in his submission and create an impression that I have said something, yet I have said nothing? Is he in order?
Honorable Semuju, when Honorable Chris was presenting, I saw you, on your face I saw signs which are not usual. You are not the usual you. So I think since he's a qualified doctor and highly qualified, he might have understood you better, that you're concerned or you are so. So, but at least you should thank Honorable Semuju for what he did.
No, actually, Honorable Semuji
But
is my
did he
friend.
bring you sandals even though he just observed and went away?
I want to thank the Honorable Semuji because actually he came and many colleagues came to visit me, but he came empty-handed. He came empty-handed. But I appreciate he was concerned, but he even wrote a story in Observer which misquoted what he claims I have said, but that's for another day. But I want to thank him and the other colleagues. And I remember the Honorable Amuriat and the Honorable Nabu Kenya and the Honorable David Bahat stood surely for me in court. So it's true. There was support in the parliament during that time because we were fighting for the welfare of a colleague who had died in circumstances which were not clear. And I've already said, if it happened again, I would still do the same that I did then, to fight for the rights of somebody, especially who can't speak for himself or speak for herself in those circumstances. So I have no regrets for what I did on behalf of Parliament then as a parliamentary commissioner. So you should never use it to blackmail me or to think that I will feel shy because of the role that I played as a commissioner in this house. But I also want to put on record that the charges were not about stealing body parts. No. No, it was not about stealing body parts. That will be for another day. Now, you, Right Honorable Speaker, my plea to the honorable members and all of us as leaders, and that's the point I have been making in the media, that we are done with elections. Presidential, parliamentary, local government at LC5, municipal councils, waiting now for the LC3 and town councils to complete this process. Whoever is aggrieved with the results, there is a channel for court to petition so that if you adduce evidence to the courts, then the courts can listen to you. But inciting the public for people to go into riots and violence, I think is not helpful for both of us in the government, even for you in opposition, because we want a stable Uganda. We want if you think you were rigged or you were treated unfairly, there are channels of court, but not an civilized way of inciting Ugandans. And security has a responsibility to ensure that you and I are safe in this country, because me being a candidate, whether presidential, parliamentary, is not a license to threaten you and harm your security as a Ugandan. And therefore, whatever actions you see security doing is in that line that they have a duty with the leave of the Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, allow me to congratulate my colleagues. Though many of us came in different ways, others through the door, others through the window, but all the same, I congratulate everyone. The clarification I would like to seek from our Minister. Our Minister, the leader of opposition raised very important concern about the Vice Chair of Northern Uganda of NUP. She disappeared. The family is looking for where she is. What we are interested in knowing is, tell us, where is she? Where have you detained her? And what charges was preferred before her? Right now, many people are disappearing. Be straight to the point and tell us where are those who are lost, where they are. That is where we want to go. Thank you.
Well, I thought that point had been addressed by the Minister of Internal Affairs, but okay.
Colleagues, once it clocks 3 p.m., we are going back on the order paper. So, Minister, conclude.
Okay. I think police and security agencies are doing their work. If there are people who are breaching the law, police and other agencies are mandated by law to take action. What we have guided security is that if they arrest somebody, he or she should be arrested roughly and taken to gazetted centers and processed in accordance with the law. Now, cases of those you are saying have been abducted, I cannot confirm here that someone has been abducted because there is a law on missing persons. If your dear one goes missing for a number of days, the law requires you to report to police that my person is missing, and then the law commands police now to assist you in search of such a person. But the information I have, that those who are being arrested are being processed for court, and then they are charged and handled accordingly. We do not condone abducting or arresting people and keeping them in areas which are not known. That is not the position of government. But the Minister of Information, rather of Security, Internal Affairs, maybe later, can give us information regarding those cases you are reporting. Lastly, Right Honourable Speaker, you have guided on the biometric voter verification kits. I chaired a committee of cabinet that prepared that intervention of using the technology. And indeed, it is the government which initiated it, and the purpose was to ensure one person, one vote. Just supplement the efforts of voter verification. Unfortunately, on the day of voting, we got a report that there were technical hitches. I was given a report on phone as the Minister of ICT, but an agreement was made with the Electoral Commission that voting goes on using the manual register. And the failure for the machines to work on that day did not in any way injure the integrity of the exercise. Yes. But eventually, the technical hitches, there were software-related technical hitches, but I think a report will come. The voting still went on, because in any case, candidates are supposed to have strong agents to ensure that they oversee whatever happens, and I think the exercise went on well. But eventually, the technical hitches were sorted, and in the subsequent elections for local governments, the machines are being used very effectively. But the Minister for Justice can come and give us a substantive report. But it was the intention of government, so it cannot be the same government to have changed the mind that we don't use them. Because it wasn't an idea from the opposition. It was President Museveni himself. So I just want to assure you that it didn't injure the integrity of the elections, and going forward, the machines shall be used for any other subsequent elections. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Lop, 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Then Minister for Finance.
Right, Honourable Speaker.
Procedure. The procedure matter first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thought I would raise it after the Leader of Opposition, but I thank you. When you are communicating, you informed the House about colleagues who had lost parents. I had thought, Mr. Speaker, that you are going to inform Parliament about the Honourable Mwanga Chivumbi, who was arrested.
Has he died?
Who was arrested?
Because Honourable Semji just wait, because I informed colleagues about members who had lost their loved ones. So I talked about the dead. So I just want...
Mr. Speaker, it's a tradition in this Parliament. In fact, in the past, even birth would be announced. When we have a colleague arrested, in the past, we have been briefed, and the Parliament has offered to help. So I had thought, Mr. Speaker, and I'm not blaming you, that you will inform us about the Honourable Mwanga Chivumbi. We keep reading reports that 10 people were killed in his house. But since that matter is before court, I thought as a colleague you will need to know and demand from government an explanation regarding his circumstances, especially the ones that don't offend the law regarding people who are suspect. So that's a procedural issue, Mr. Speaker, I am raising.
Thank you. You had scared me, Honorable Semuju. Usually how we handle these matters, we have a CID officer attached to Parliament. He gives us a report as a readership, and then from that report, we are able to follow up on such a matters. So I'm going to ask the CID officer who will share with us a report through the clerk, and we shall offer any assistance within our means as the leadership of the House, like we do for other colleagues. Yes, Honorable, allow 1 minute.
Honourable Speaker, I think it's because the modus operandi really is that for any colleague here to be arrested, someone's go through your office. But of course what we saw with the Honourable Mwanga Chivumbi is that his home was raided by the military. Thankfully, and imagine I'm saying thankfully, for him he was not disappeared away. He was taken to police and then court. Never mind that the raid was outside of the law really. The concern about the others is they were taken and we don't know where they are. Honourable Speaker, the Minister for Information has said that the home of the Honourable Kyagulanyi is suspected to be used as a public disorder hub. Those are the words that he used. And therefore there is access control. I think you should not operate in the dark. If you think that my home has got an issue with public order, accessibility, why do you not bring me on board so that I know what can I do, what can I not do? Because now you know, but the family doesn't know. So when they come, they are banging doors, the wife refuses to open. She's thinking, are these coming in good faith or not? Eventually they break and beat her up. But when you inform the family that now these are the standard operating procedures, no one is supposed to visit you, no one is supposed to bring food for you, then we know, and we also get to see what can we challenge. But now you know. The family does not know. Yesterday his siblings went to see him, to see the family. They were denied access. So can we know, Honourable Minister? It's not enough for you to say we have put in place access controls. To what effect? Because when I know, then tomorrow if I flout what you have laid down, if it is legal, I can be held liable.
Thank you.
Finally, Right Honourable Speaker, again, this talk of there are people inciting violence and that's why the state is operating that way. Incitement of violence is an offence in this country. Why don't you charge them? If you think the Honourable Kyagulanyi has incited violence, issue him with summons. That's what I've been saying. But for you to say he's inciting violence, that's why we shall raid his home, break things, beat up his wife. You're operating outside the law. Issue him with summons. And very finally, Right Honourable Speaker, you see, abductions, and why we call these abductions, the Minister for Internal Affairs, who was saying that, yes, I went through, even though I'm saying the process was unfair. You see, we blame Idi Amin's regime of having killed people, and yes, they did. But Idi Amin did not kill everybody who was present in the country at the time. But let me get back to my point. The reason we are calling these abductions is because how can 7 days later, 2 weeks later, families don't know where they are? Honourable Minister, you have said that you are aware that for some of these, they are being processed for court. Tell me, you quote for me a law which says you can hold somebody for 7 days, for 2 weeks. The family doesn't know. The lawyers don't know. But you're saying you're processing them for court. How is that legal? How? You help me understand. Because if you're processing them for court, the family has got to be able to access them. Lawyers should be able to access them. If they're writing statements, they have a right to have legal counsel with them. But you're saying 10 days later you're processing them for court. We don't know the state in which they are. Family cannot access them. You, with due respect, the Honourable Minister should be ashamed of telling us these things that are outside the law. You should be apologizing the same way you're saying government, if it apologizes to you and you forgive them, you should be saying, let's...
Honourable Minister for Information.
The ROP doesn't qualify to lecture me in this house. You don't. I thought you had to Makerere. Okay, give order.
Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable, I haven't allowed you, please. No, I haven't. You ask when you're seated. No, just first sit. Because you see, when you stand up, you access a microphone, you remain standing. You need to first take your position. Colleagues, we've been moving well. This shouldn't be an exchange just between the two colleagues. Honorable Yomons, please wait. Honorable Yomons, wait. Honorable Minister, wait a bit. Yeah. Now, the problem I'm seeing, honorable colleagues, the problem I'm seeing, it seems we prefer talking to each other on microphones and in the public. But we are colleagues. We are colleagues. I don't think Lope, you call General Muhozi here, and he refuses to pick your call. Or General Muhozi, you call Lope. Or Honorable Jomunsi. Because now what we are doing, we are exchanging before the public or the Prime Minister. You know, I think let us also use other means beyond the cameras and the microphones to help our colleagues, to be honest. And we have resolved very many issues that way. You know? So I request, Honorable Sarira is telling me accountability is on camera. Please, Eslop.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Mario Munsi is attempting to intimidate me. Obviously, he will not succeed to intimidate Joel Senyonyi. When he says that I am in no place to lecture him, but who have I lectured here? I am raising critical issues of concern to all of us, matters of law. So how do you say that I'm now standing up to lecture you? I'm quoting for you the law. And that is the critical concern. Why do you not address, I don't know if it's in order to try and address my person. I'm not attacking you. If it were him as Minister of Information, I would still raise the issues of concern to him. Why do you not raise these issues of concern when we say, no, these are not arrests?
Thank you.
Can I be allowed to finish a point of order, sir? I was processing the point of order.
Honorable colleagues, please. No, please.
It's important I raise...
Conclude.
Because I don't want him to again make it seem like it's a personal issue. No, it is a matter of law. And why we are concerned, when people are abducted and for days on end we don't see them, they might end up becoming like John Bosco Chibalama, whom the Prime Minister said he was arrested. Up to now, she has never accounted for him. 6 years later. That's why we are concerned. I don't want the same thing that happened to Chibalama to happen to Lina Zedriga.
Thank you. Now, no, Honorable Yomus, I have to rule. There is a point of order against you. Yes. So, honorable colleagues, now, Honorable Senyonyi made my work even more difficult in terms of ruling, because he said that he cannot be intimidated. So since Honorable Yomus cannot intimidate you, let us ignore it. We take it as a passing, you know. Okay? Yeah. So Honorable Yomus, please.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I think what I said, and the LP should listen, I said there are arrests being made and are being processed in accordance with the law so that the suspects appear in court. That's what I said. Secondly, I said the government of Uganda does not abduct. But if your dear one goes missing, there is a law which guides you on how you can report police, and the police can assist you to look for that person. I am alive to the law in this country as a member of parliament. So if you are saying there is an abduction, it is your word against us. We are not aware of an abduction. But if your person has gone missing, report police. Then the police can help you to look for the person.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Otherwise, those who are being arrested are taken to court, charged, and processed accordingly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister for Finance.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to comment about the budget timelines. But before I do that, let me also take this opportunity to congratulate you upon your victory in Mitoma Yes. Yes, and to congratulate, and I want to congratulate all the colleagues who were able to make it back to this house. And more so, I want to congratulate His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM party for the massive victory. Mr. Speaker, on the budget timelines, Mr. Speaker, can I be protected from my brother Vasariwa, Honorable?
Please, Honorable Musasa, please. Colleagues, order.
Mr. Speaker, on the budget timelines, the law is very clear. By 1st of February, we pass the budget framework paper, which I want to believe by close of business today, we shall have passed it. By 15th of February, we are required to have issued the second budget called Satura, which we shall issue. It is subsequent to the national budget framework paper. By 15th of March, the ministerial policy statements are supposed to be laid in this house. By 1st of April, we are required to lay the estimates of expenditure and revenue, which is the budget. So that is the budget accompanied by the tax bills and all other compliance requirements in accordance with the law. Mr. Speaker, as far as I am concerned, any earliest opportunity past 1st of April is very good news for me. So I want to play. We will give the necessary support in terms of information, and we expect, Mr. Speaker, that at an earliest opportunity, after 1st of April, we pass this budget, because we are cognizant of the fact that this parliament is about to come to an end. We are cognizant of the fact that the current government 2021-2026 is about to come to an end, and we want to close having completed most of these things where the law requires us to do before the new parliament comes. Therefore, what do I commit? I commit that I will provide timely information, especially after 1st of April, such that by end of April, we have passed the budget and we are good to get ready for the next parliament. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Enos, I had allowed you earlier. Is it related to budget? If it's out, if it's on the other comments, I don't want to reopen.
No, Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for the opportunity, but it has passed.
Okay, thank you. Next item.
Item 3 on the other paper, laying of papers. 1. Petroleum Fund Annual Report, financial ended 30th June 2025.
Honorable Minister for Finance.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay on table the Petroleum Fund Annual Report for financial year ended 30th June 2025. I beg to lay, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, I was, when I was preparing, I cross-checked if I follow Rule 179, which implements Section 17 of the PFMA, then I would be referring this report to the Budget Committee. But then the report has issues which are beyond expenditure. There are issues of a policy nature and all that. So I want to use my authority to refer it to the Committee on Finance, not to the Committee on Budget, so that it can be extensively looked into beyond budget issues, and also so that the issues raised can be followed up by the Sectoral Committee of Finance, since it's a supervisory committee. And also, Clerk, this issue, the Rules Committee should look at it. Rule 179, in line with Section 17 of the PFMA, we need to see how best to harmonize so that petroleum fund reports can be referred to the Committee on Finance. So I refer the report to the Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development.
Item 3.2, Education Service Commission Annual Performance Report Financial 2024-2025.
Honourable Minister for Education.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Let me also take the opportunity to congratulate you and all colleagues. Above all, let me congratulate the President for winning this year's election. I beg to lay on table the annual performance report for Education Service Commission, financial ended 2025. I beg to lay.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The report is referred to the Committee on Education and Sports.
Item 3.3, agreement between the Arab Republic of Egypt and the Government of the Republic of Uganda on the reciprocal abolition of visa requirements for holders of diplomatic, official, service, and special passports.
Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister for Finance can lay the report. The agreement, sorry.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay on the table the agreement between the Arab Republic of Egypt and the Government of the Republic of Uganda on the reciprocal abolition of visa requirements for holders of diplomatic, official stroke service, and special passports. I beg to lay.
Thank you, Honourable colleagues. You should interest yourselves in this. Now you can go to Egypt, visa-free. But Honourable Ministers, you go back to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, tell them we negotiate for all passport holders. This is Africa. We are traveling in Africa. Exempting us while we don't help those who are doing business and bringing money to this economy is not helpful. So this is for information purposes. Let it be deposited in the library so that it can be accessed by members.
Annual report of the Auditor General to Parliament for the audit year ended 31st December 2025.
Commissioner.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay on the table the annual report of the Auditor General to Parliament for the audit year ended 31st December 2025. I beg to lay.
Thank you. The report is referred to the Committee on Public Accounts, Central, for processing.
Annual performance report of the Auditor General 2025.
Honourable.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table the annual performance report of the Office of the Auditor General for the year ended December 2025. I beg to lay.
Thank you. It's referred to the relevant committees because we have several accountability committees which should be processing it from PAC, COSASE, and all that. Thank you. Next item.
Item 4 on the other paper, motion for adoption of the National Budget Framework Paper for financial year 2026-27 to financial year 2030-31.
Honourable Minister for Finance.
Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, pursuant to Article 1552 of the Constitution and Section 810 of the Public Finance Management Act and Rule 145 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, I beg to move a motion for adoption of the National Budget Framework Paper for financial year 2026-2027. I beg to move.
The motion seconded. By Prime Minister, Minister for Veteran Affairs, Minister for Agriculture, Animal Industry, Minister for Internal Affairs, Minister for Royal Triangle, Chair of Finance Committee, Chair of Budget, Honorable Mara, Honorable Masaba, Honorable Kamara, Honorable colleagues, majority of the members of the House. Thank you. Honorable Minister, you want to briefly speak to your motion?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the theme under the National Budget Framework Paper for this financial year is full monetization of Ugandan economy through commercial agriculture industrialization, expanding and broadening services, digital transformation, and market access. Mr. Speaker, we have, Right Honorable Speaker, this financial year, 2026-2027, is the second year of implementing the National Development Plan 4, and this is the first plan to deliver the tenfold growth strategy of expanding the size of the economy to a GDP of $500 billion by 2040, and it is the first fiscal year of implementation of the NRM Manifesto 2026-2031, and the first fiscal year of implementation of the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility for financial year 2026-2027 to 2030-2031. Mr. Speaker, I wish to inform the House that the budget framework paper has been prepared consistent with the NDP 4 priorities which were approved by this House and the NRM Manifesto 2026-2031. Mr. Speaker, briefly, I wish to state that the economy is projected to grow between 6.5 and 7%. For the year ending December 2025, actually the year ended December 2025, the economic activity as per the perceptions of doing business in Uganda continued to strengthen. Inflation stood at 3.1%, below the policy target of 5%. The exchange rate remained stable and strong against major currencies such as the US dollar. And at the end of November 2025, exports of goods reached US dollars 12.79 billion, with Uganda registering a balance of payments surplus of US dollars 2.37 billion, from a deficit of US dollars 683 million the previous year. The foreign direct investment increased to US dollars 3.5 billion for the year ending October 2025, while portfolio inflows stood at US dollars 1.7 billion for the year ending 31st October 2025. Tourism earnings reached US dollars 1.7, as remittances from Ugandans abroad reached US dollars 1.6 billion, up from US dollars 1.1 billion in financial year 2020-2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, the next financial years, Uganda's economy is expected to grow by 10.4%. The GDP is expected to increase to Uganda shillings 290.2 trillion, an equivalent of US dollars 76.7 billion, from Uganda shillings 51.450 trillion, which is equivalent to US$ 68 billion this financial year. This double-digit growth will be supported by 1, commencement of commercial production of oil and gas, 2, strategic government initiatives including PDM, MYOGA, and infrastructure investments, 3, increasing foreign direct investment, especially in extractive industries, agro-processing, peace and security and political stability, continued strong growth in exports, and a stable macroeconomic environment, favorable to private sector growth and profitability. Right Honorable Speaker, the preliminary resource envelope for financial year 2026-2027 amounts to Uganda shillings 69.399 trillion. This comprises domestic resources, both tax and non-tax revenue, grants and borrowing. Mr. Speaker, briefly the key investment priorities for financial year 2026-2027 include 1, maintaining peace, security and rule of law, 2, human capital development, including provision of health care, delivery of free universal education, water for human consumption and production, and social protection. 3, monetization of the economy through wealth creation initiatives that contribute to lowering the cost of money like PDM, MYOGA, UDB, UDC, among others. 4, infrastructure development. Here our focus is the railway, standard gauge railway, the meter gauge, road maintenance, both paved and unpaved, affordable electricity, water, and ICT. 5, strengthening regional integration to guarantee market access. 6, irrigation, stabilize agriculture. 7, industrial parks for manufacturing, including agro-processing. 8, eliminating corruption. 9, environmental conservation and protection of wetlands, forests, etc. And 10, vertical and horizontal integration of the economy. Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank this Parliament and the committees which have considered this budget framework paper, and I wish to submit that Parliament, that we are ready to take up all the comments, welcome all the comments, and we commit that we shall consider them at the next stage of this process, especially at the second budget framework paper, especially at the issuance of the second budget call circular. I move, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that brief. Chair of the committee, please present the report. I think 30 minutes will be enough.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable members. The report of the Committee on Budget on the National Budget Framework Paper for the financial year 2026-2027. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, before I proceed to read the report, I beg to lay the minutes of the committee in processing this budget framework paper on table. Mr. Speaker, also accompanying this report is a minority report prepared by the Honorable Semunju Ibrahim, Member of Parliament for Kira Municipality. Accompanying this report also are annexes that I will also lay on the table. And the report, a copy of the report. Mr. Speaker, since you have given me 30 minutes, I'll take the discretion to be brief in certain areas, but highlight some of the important aspects of this budget framework paper. Introduction. Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members, in accordance with the Section 8.5 of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 171, and Rule 151 of our Rules of Procedure, the budget framework paper for the financial year 2026-2027 to 2030-2031 was presented to Parliament on the 6th of December 2025 by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Right Honourable Speaker, you subsequently referred the budget framework paper to the attendant documents to the Committee of Budget and the respective sector committees of Parliament for consideration. In accordance with Section 8.9 of the Public Finance Management Act, therefore, and Rule 152 of our Rules of Procedure, the Committee on Budget, in consultation with the sector committees of Parliament, scrutinized the budget framework paper and now therefore presents its findings for consideration and approval by this August House as required by Section 8.10 of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 171, and Rule 152.3 of the Parliamentary Rules of Procedure, Mr. Speaker. On that page 4, the methodology and the documents that the committee used and took into consideration in processing these documents are there. The stakeholders consulted, largely Minister of Finance, the Planning Authority, and the relevant MDAs. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, this budget framework paper report is divided into two parts. Part 1 considers the legal compliance of the budget framework paper, the economic and budget performance, preliminary resource and expenditure framework for the financial year 2026-27, and the strategic policy direction for this budget framework paper. And Part 2 is a report on the sectoral committee vote by vote, considering the observations and recommendations of both sector committees, as well as the committees and comments and harmonization by the Committee of Budget. Part 2, legal compliance. Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members, the committee undertook an assessment of the compliance of the budget framework paper against a number of legal provisions, as highlighted below. Compliance with Section 8.3 of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 171. The Section 8.3 requires the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to prepare a budget that is consistent with the National Development Plan 4 and the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility. The committee observations are that the strategic policy direction of the budget framework paper is consistent. This BFP is consistent with the NDP 4 strategic direction. The budget framework paper strategic policy direction is focused on 4 priority growth drivers. That's agro-industrialization, tourism, mineral-based industrialization development, science, technology, and innovation. 2, the BAP's economic growth projections, as mentioned by the Minister here, is projected to be 10.4%, therefore going forward. 3, the BAP program budget allocations are as highlighted, but are fall far below the corresponding NDP4 budget allocations, with notable shortfalls in the key areas of agro-industrialization, human capital development, governance and security, energy and innovation. While private sector development, sustainable urbanization and housing, regional balance development and administration of justice have indicative allocations above the NDP4 targets, most of those items have fallen short in terms of the allocations indicated in NDP4. In addition, the program expenditure prioritization or budget allocative efficiency of the budget framework paper is not fully consistent with the NDP4. The NDP4 envisaged higher budget allocation ratios for the agro-industrialization program, human capital development, and development plan implementation programs, respectively, and as highlighted in Table 1. the consistency of the budget framework paper with the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility is currently not possible because the current Charter of Fiscal Responsibility expires in June 2026. We therefore wait for the new charter from Parliament, hopefully to be presented into Parliament not later than 3 months after its first sitting of the next Parliament. It is important to note that the government has encountered consistent challenges in meeting the fiscal rules or benchmarks it has been setting in the past charters. We implore government, therefore, that for the fiscal deficit to GDP that they are going to set in the coming budget be consistent with the projections in the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. Our committee recommends, therefore, that enhanced revenue mobilization efforts to effectively implement the NDP4, interventions and ensure allocative efficiency, consistency of the budget framework paper and the NDP4. 2, ensure the new charter that is being developed is based on realistic benchmarks that right now continue to that will ensure fiscal sustainability and promote economic growth. 2.2, compliance with Section 8.4 of the Public Finance Management Act. Section 4 requires the Minister of Finance and Plan Economic Development to prepare a budget framework paper in a format as prescribed in Schedule 3 of the Public Finance Management Act. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, the committee observations on this matter is that the BFP largely conforms the requirements of Schedule 3 of the Public Finance Management Act. However, the alternate fiscal framework inch on the fiscal risks is not provided. And this has been a perennial problem on the floor of Parliament over the last few years. The flow of government investment in the financial year is not provided either. The rate of employment and unemployment for the financial year 26-27 and the medium term is also not provided. In addition, it is important to note that the aforementioned BFP information has consistently not been provided in the past to Parliament. The committee recommends that the BFP should be amended to include all the requirements as per Schedule 3. Compliance with Section 8.5 of the Public Finance Management Act.
Procedure.
Mr. Speaker, the minister who has moved the motion asking Parliament to approve it has for the last 15 minutes been involved in a deep discussion with the lead of government business. Yet the matters being raised in the report will need his response. Is he in order, Mr. Speaker? Is he procedure right to move Parliament to consider a very serious matter? And as Parliament is processing, is in a deep discussion, laughing widely with the Prime Minister. Is he procedure right to do that, Mr. Speaker?
Thank you. Now, this worries me because the Minister for Finance is busy concentrating somewhere with the Prime Minister. Listen, the Shadow Minister for Finance is also busy concentrating on the Minister of Finance and what he's doing. None of them is focusing on what is on the floor. So now, the two of you, I request you we concentrate on what's going on the floor. Honorable Semuju, stop concentrating on Honorable Msasizi. Honorable Msasizi, stop concentrating on the Prime Minister. Please, Honorable Chair.
I think you're right, Mr. Speaker. The issues raised here about the consistency and provision of important information, which I thought the Honorable Minister of Finance should give and hear. 2.3, compliance with Section 8.5 of the Public Finance Management Act. This section requires the Minister to prepare a budget framework paper with the approval of Cabinet and submitted to Parliament by the 31st of December of the financial year preceding the financial year to which the budget framework paper relates. This requirement was fulfilled. This was within its stipulated time. 2.4, compliance with Section 86 of the PMFA, Cap 171.
Only will use 30 minutes if you proceed like this, because these are areas of compliance which are very, very clearly defined. I think let's go to the critical issues of money.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your guidance. In that spirit, on the economic and budget for performance, I think the Honorable Minister referred to that. On inflation and exchange rate, he touched on that matter. Also on the financial sector developments, I only want to note that the average on the non-performing loans, the average ratio of non-performing loans to total gross loans declined to 3.86% in June 2025 from 4.95% in June 2024. And this is a good indicator for the economy. The decline was particularly evident in sectors benefiting from recovery in trade, manufacturing, construction, and agriculture. This decline in NPL trend signals a healthier and more resilient banking sector and capable of extending more credit to support private sector-led growth. This is a very positive development, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. On the external sector developments, I just want to comment that our export earnings for goods and services grew significantly by 31.6%, increasing from $10.025 billion to a record of $13.19 billion. This strong performance was largely attributed to our high export of coffee and gold, as international prices of gold and coffee increased significantly. And this has actually given us a surplus and a good 3.8-month cover for the first time. This is very good for. So our overall balance of payments, the country has recorded an overall balance of payments surplus of $1.029 billion, a major turnaround from the US dollars 995 million deficit registered in 2023-24 financial year. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, a positive balance of payment signals that Uganda is earning more foreign exchange than it is spending, which supports current stability and enhances the country's global financial standing. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, on our public debt, including Bank of Uganda outstanding debt of 1.8 trillion and excluding domestic arrears, rose by 14.86% to 118 trillion, that's about $32.9 billion by end of financial year 24-25. This is up from 103.0 trillion in the financial year 23-24, raising the debt to GDP ratio from 50.5% to 51.8%. So our debt sustainability strategy needs to be taken into consideration in this. On domestic areas, in the last, in the current budget, 1.4 billion was, 1,400 billion was allocated in the financial year 25-26. And in the coming financial year, it is proposed that we are going to revert to 200 billion annually in 26-27. The committee observations, recommendations are outlined there, but briefly to reiterate the fact that we need to drain on our debt, and hopefully with the coming on oil in the 31st July, hopefully this year, the economy will be healthier and stronger going forward. Yeah. On the fiscal and budget performance, Mr. Speaker, this is a matter that has been extensively considered by committees, and our recommendation is that there is need for sustained oversight on project readiness, procurement timelines, and contractual performance to avoid incomplete or idle infrastructure. Government should prioritize resources for operationalizing already constructed facilities before approving new capital projects. Counterpart funding has been a problem across board and in many MDAs. And I think this is becoming a serious problem, which is attracting a lot of interest payments for unspent monies, loans. Government should ensure that there is a continuous collaboration between project-affected persons, representatives, government officials and local leaders to identify gaps and resolve delays in compensation of ongoing projects. In addition, government should prioritize allocation of funding for payment of right of way, and this has been a major problem. On preliminary resource and expenditure framework, the resource envelope, the minister has referred to it. I don't have to go there. But what is worth noting is that the decline in both domestic and external borrowing suggests a decline effort to contain debt accumulation in line with the fiscal consolidation agenda. A declining trend in domestic borrowing over the medium term reflects government's intention to reduce crowding out of the private sector, curb the rising debt to GDP ratio, and address the growing burden of interest payments to revenues. Our recommendation is that government should strengthen the resolve on concessional borrowing and not domestic borrowing over the medium term. This would bring down the cost of debt service and improve the fiscal space for increased service delivery in the country. The expenditure allocation for 26-27 for domestic areas should be at least 450 billion, which is consistent with domestic areas strategy and the PDM-MF 2023 strategy. On expenditure, Mr. Speaker, that the minister has highlighted the key areas for implementation. That's the ATMIS. I would want to go to the many areas, the priority areas that are mentioned is the ATMIS. Let me go to the committee observation recommendations on strategic policy directions. On agro-industrialization, the committee observes that Uganda's agriculture is standing on the shoulders of smallholder farmers.
Honorable, you can just give a
recommendations.
small synopsis, on page 22 before going there. Okay. On resource envelope.
Yes. Our resource envelope for 26-27 is 69.399 trillion, but only 22.47 trillion, representing 32.4%, is for discretionary expenditure. And the balance of 46.92 trillion is non-discretionary expenditure or mandatory expenditure. And colleagues, if you note on that table under column 26-27, domestic revenues is 40 trillion, 90 billion. That's 40,090.43 billion. That is from tax revenue. We are going to get 36,806.27 billion. Billion. Non-tax revenue is 3,284.16 billion. Budget support, that's from loans, is 330.97 billion. So there's a significant reduction in budget support as a result of reduced borrowing. We don't expect any grants, and in total resource envelope is 69,399.95 billion Uganda shillings. Less our wage bill, which is 8,582.93 billion. Less external repayments, amortization of 4,833.16 billion. Less project support of 10,018.45 billion. That's the external financing. Less domestic refinancing of 9,678.55 billion. Less domestic arrears, which is budgeted for 200 billion. Less appropriation in aid, that's the money we return to local governments, of 328.67 billion. Less interest payments, which are mandatory, of 12,734.64 billion. And less domestic debt repayments of 547 billion. So the discretionary envelope available to us is 22,476.56 billion. And that's what we can spend on our subsect, on our discretionarily. Mr. Speaker, I beg to proceed so that I can go to part 2. on 5.4 on the strategic direction of this budget. On agroindustrialization, committee recommends that further strengthening harvest and post-harvest handling, enhancing production and competitiveness of agricultural products for domestic, regional, and external markets, strengthening specialized extension services, strengthening the adoption and integration of STI in agriculture, strengthening farmer field schools and cooperatives, de-risking agro-industry, eliminating counterfeits and low-quality agro inputs, and strengthening coordination, legal, and institutional framework for agriculture would go a long way in helping to further deepen growth in this sector. There are observations on the extractive industry. Mr. Members, I beg you that you read them. There are also on tourism development, science, technology, but let me more specifically on the specific on part 2. So Speaker, I beg to move to page 40 and on some highlights on what observations and recommendations. On the Committee on Foreign Affairs, vote 006, Minister of Foreign Affairs. The committee notes that failure to, there are actually a challenge with paying. The committee is gravely concerned about Uganda's persistent failure to fulfill its financial obligations to organizations as listed above. As of December 2025, Uganda's arrears stood at 90.231 billion, and no funds have been allocated for clearing the arrears for there's 8 organizations, that is Commonwealth Foundation, United Nations Secretariat, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, International Conference on the Great Lakes Region, Africa Union, IGAD, World Food Program, UN Peacekeeping and Tribunals. And additionally, no funds have been allocated for annual assessment contributions totaling to 25.54 billion. The committee notes that failure to pay subscriptions to international organizations adversely affects Uganda's international standing, undermining Uganda's voting rights and full participation in meetings, and limits employment opportunities for Ugandans within the intermediate international organizations. Our recommendation, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, is that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs be allocated additional funding of 90.231 billion to clear the outstanding arrears, and the 25.54 billion for payment of Uganda's annual assessment contribution obligations to international organizations. On the enhanced pension and gratuity for the retiring officers in the ministry, the committee recommends that the ministry be provided additional funding of 2.1 billion and 200 million for enhanced gratuity and pension payments for its staff to avoid accumulation of arrears and delayed payments of terminal benefits for retiring officers. On vote 501, missions abroad, generally we recommend that government should provide additional funding of 1.2 billion to the missions in New Delhi and 200 million to the mission in Kuala Lumpur to facilitate the repatriation of trafficked Ugandans in their respective countries of accreditation. Missions in countries with a higher number of Ugandan migrant workers, such as Abu Dhabi and Riyadh, should each be allocated an additional 500 million to enable them establish rescue shelters and provide the requisite consular support to distressed Ugandans. This funding could be availed to them every financial year. This is a recurrent issue. Additional funding for consulates in Arusha. The committee recommends that the mission in Dar es Salaam be allocated an additional 710 million in the financial 26 as subvention. Funding for maintaining operations, the mission in Kinshasa, the mission in Kinshasa is we pray that the mission in Kinshasa be allocated 672 million for the rental rental of temporary offices with adequate space to accommodate all staff in one location, since our embassy was burnt down during the riots. On Committee on Gender, Labor and Social Development, vote 124, Equal Opportunities Commission. The renovation of the dilapidated Equal Opportunities headquarters. The committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance provides funds of 1 billion to enable the committee to renovate the building at Bugolobi, as this would enable the staff to relocate from the expensive rental offices at Kingdom Kampala and save money which would be used for other critical activities. Right now, they spend up to a tune of 4 billion in rent in a Kingdom House. Committee on East African Community Affairs, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, vote 021, Minister of East African Community Affairs. They have a wage gap. The committee recommends that a wage gap of 165 million be provided to the budget for the ministry. Participation in regional and international agreements. The committee noted that the Ministry of East African Community Affairs is required to participate on a number of occasions in different negotiations, but has failed to participate in key regional meetings due to lack of funding. Attending of regional meetings, participation in bilateral engagements, trade negotiations is a key part of their mandate. The committee noted that MECA requires 3.6 billion, which has not been availed. So the committee recommends that Minister of Finance provides 1.8 billion for the participation of MECA officials in regional and international engagements, which are critical to our integration process. On visibility and communication of MECA, the committee recommends that the ministry be provided 1.2 billion to create awareness on the importance of EAC integration. There are recommendations on retooling. On the Committee on Finance, Plan and Economic Development, vote 108, National Planning Authority. There is local government development plans. The committee recommends that the Minister of Finance reinstates NPA's full 5.4 billion non-wage allocation under the Sustainable Urbanization and Housing Program. This will ensure that local government development plans are developed to avert delays in infrastructure coordination and compliance with the Fiscal Planning Act. Vote 141, Uganda Revenue Authority, Domestic Revenue Mobilization Initiatives. The committee recommends that URA needs 40.78 billion in order to undertake the above domestic revenue mobilization, and this resource could be provided so that they can achieve the targets that they are expecting to bring in. On vote 131, Office of the Auditor General. The Auditor General noted that their scope of audit has expanded, and the committee noted that over time the scope of audits have expanded due to the growing number of administrative units, emerging areas such as PDM, oil, gas expenditure, and increasing demand for public works audits, value for money audits, special audits, and forensic investigations. The Auditor General is unable to cope with the expanded scope due to limited budgetary allocations, resulting into backlogs. In addition, the adoption of the thematic reporting and ISSAI-140 as heightened the need for additional resources. The committee recommends that Uganda shillings 12.053 billion be provided to the OAG to enable it to execute its expanded mandate. Inadequate staff numbers. The committee was informed that the Office of the Auditor General employs 605 staff out of the required 1,890. The limited staff numbers has impaired the office's ability to fully execute its mandate. The committee recommends that Uganda shillings 10 billion be provided to reduce on the staffing gaps in the institution in order for them to execute their mandate. The Office of the Auditor General also reported aging fleet of vehicles, and the committee recommends that 7 billion be provided to the procurement of field vehicles to replace the aging fleet. On Financial Intelligence Authority, implementation of the strategic actions in preparation for 2028 mutual evaluation on Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, you know, we have been on this grey list and we came out of it. Now we have a problem. We need to do something. The committee was informed that the Financial Intelligence Authority plans to implement strategic actions in preparation for 2028 mutual evaluation on Uganda. This is critical to permit adequate preparation towards the realization of post-mutual evaluation results to deter FATF listing Uganda again in the bad list. The specific target actions relating to the regulatory and legal requirements, self-assessments, on-site activities, and face-to-face meetings will require Uganda shillings 4.5 billion. The committee recommends that FIA be provided the money or worth 4.5 billion to undertake the necessary actions in preparation for the 2028 meeting in order to keep Uganda off the FATF grey list. Committee on Fiscal Infrastructure, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, vote 016. Ministry of Works and Transport, the reduction National Roads budget. The committee noted that the National Roads and Construction Department budget is projected to reduce by 12%, that is by about 301 billion, from 2,502.7 billion to 2,201.7 billion in the coming budget. The committee was informed that the projected reduction of the National Roads Maintenance and Construction Department budget by 12% will have significant adverse implications across maintenance, rehabilitation, and upgrading of interventions as specified in the budget. There is also further deferment of periodic maintenance and expansion of backlogs. There is slackened implementation of ongoing rehabilitation projects. There is scaling back of planned rehabilitation and upgrading of some works. These are challenges. There is shift from preventive to reactive maintenance regimes. There is increased contractual and financial exposure. There is deterioration of road safety. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, the committee further recommends that reinstatement of the national roads budget by 301 billion towards national roads is needed in order to mitigate the resultant factors that are costlier in the long run as listed above. On road safety, the committee notes that the government has in place a comprehensive action plan geared towards road safety improvement in the country, although enforcement is lacking. Hence, the recommendation that government prioritize enforcement as outlined in its national road safety plan, as it will go a long way in reducing road fatalities and other relevant factors, apart from collecting more revenue from errant persons. Government should also gradually increase allocations towards road safety interventions. 3. Government should also allocate 1.7 billion for recruitment of staff to under MVIS, motor vehicle inspection. The delayed upgrade of Isinjiro Mutukula Road. The committee therefore recommended that there is that concern. The Isinjiro Mutukula Road corridor is one among many other roads. 135 kilometers from Rakai through Isinjiro district, Mutukula, and crossing into Tanzania. The committee therefore recommends that government fast tracks upgrading of Isinjiro, Kigarama, Kashumba, Kasheshe, Mutukula Road, Nakapiripita, Mudat Road, Namalu, Lache, Nabilatuk Road, as specified in the resource envelope which was got recently from the Islamic Development Bank. The committee also notes that Ministry of Finance and Islamic Development Bank signed a country engagement framework for Uganda for the period 2025 to 2027 to support economic resilience and sustainable human development. The ISDB group allocated a resource envelope of 800 million for the 3-year duration for this CEF. The major projects to be funded include the one I mentioned, that is upgrading of Nakapiripita Mudat and Nakamalu Lakapel Road, and Isinjiro, Kigarama, Kashumba, Kasheshe, Tanzania border to Mutukula Road. Committee on Presidential Affairs. Vote 001, Office of the President, constrain operations of the Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation. The committee recommends that 30 billion be identified and be allocated to vote 001 to facilitate acquisition of the modern equipment so as to enable Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation align with modern technological and production standards. Vote 002, State House. Inadequate budget provision for wage expenditure category. The committee recommends that 4.28 billion be allocated to vote 002, State House, to provide for the wage shortfall in the financial year 26-27. Support to the graduate of the skilling program. Colleagues and other members, Mr. Speaker, we know the skilling hubs across the country, but most of those people who got these skilling hubs come without any support. So the committee recommends that 140 billion be allocated to State House to facilitate the setup of one common user facility per zone for these trainees. Vote 107, Uganda AIDS Commission. Intervention to reduce HIV and new infections in Uganda. The committee recommends that Uganda shilling 6 billion is needed and be provided to vote 107 to facilitate scaling up of HIV communication campaign and research against HIV. Establishment of HIV and AIDS coordination zonal offices. The committee recommends that Uganda 3 billion be provided to vote 107 to enable Uganda AIDS Commission establish the 6 additional regional offices so as to take preventive measures on HIV spread. Vote 159 external security organization. Coordination of external intelligence management. The committee recommends that 12 billion be provided to enable the external ESO efficiently and effectively maintain foreign diplomatic stations, foreign strategic areas of interest, and field stations. Construction of ESO headquarters. The committee recommends that 32.55 billion be provided to vote 159 to kickstart the construction of ESO headquarters. Vote 167 on science, technology, and innovation. The committee recommends that 10 billion earlier earmarked for sericulture interventions implemented by 3D be maintained for the same purpose for 26-27. Vote on defense and internal affairs. Vote 004, defense and internal affairs and veteran affairs. There is a shortfall in food staff. The committee recommends that the required 112.2 billion should be given priority in the coming budget to prevent the need for supplementary allocations during the budget implementation. Vote 120, Director of Citizenship and Immigration, Border Automation Systems. The committee recommends that 1.02 billion be given to DCI, IC, in the final 2026, aiming to boost efficiency and revenue at all our service points, border service points. Uganda Police Force, vote 144, Uganda Police Force wage bill. The committee recommends that allocating an additional 28.016 billion to the Uganda Police Force wage bill for financial 26-27 to cover salaries for the 10,000 PPCs recruited last year. Vote 145, Uganda Prison Service. Uganda Prison Service needs a reallocation of prison headquarters. The committee recommends that Uganda Prison Service be provided 32.56 billion to construct a new prison facility at its land in Luzira. We need our building back. Vote 1617. Vote 135, Directorate of Government Analytical Laboratory. Operationalization of DIGAL regional laboratories. The committee recommends an additional 1 billion to construct a regional forensic laboratory in Oima and operationalize the one forensic lab over the medium term. There is also a need for modern scientific equipment, which needs 1.8 billion for the maintenance of scientific equipment during the financial 26-27. The Director of Government Analytical Laboratory also needs laboratory reagents, chemicals, and consumables worth 5.4 billion for the procurement of these reagents. The committee recommends that this money be provided. This director also needs money for staff training worth 540 million. The committee recommends the same. And also the laboratory needs 650 million for accreditation internationally. Let's go to the Ministry of Health, Committee on Health. Vote 014, Ministry of Health. Operationalization budget. A number of public health facilities were upgraded to new statuses, but there was no equivalent increment in their budgets. The committee therefore recommends that 20 billion be provided for the operational costs for 300 road and 14 boat ambulances, 300 ambulances and 14 boat ambulances that were given across the country. Equipment and maintenance costs. Inadequate funds for servicing and maintenance of medical equipment and other equipment in health facilities. As a result, hospitals and health centers often have idle and non-functional diagnostic, oxygen, and life-saving equipment due to lack of maintenance contracts, spare parts, utilities, biomedical engineers, and so on. So the committee recommends that 2.1 billion be provided for procurement and installation of ultrasound scan machines in 84 public health center force and at a cost of 25 million each. Human resources for health. This was Mr. Speaker and colleagues. Inadequate human resources for health at different levels due to inadequate wage recruitment delays, and failure to attract some cadres, which affects service delivery. The committee recommends that this coming financial year, Uganda shillings 132.6 billion be provided for recruitment of at least 16,963 staff in the financial year 2026-27 in various public health facilities, to increase the staffing levels to at least 45%. For operationalization of the organ transplant, funds are required to support the organ transplant program, pre-transplant, transplant, and post-transplant services in the country. The committee recommends that 8.598 billion be provided to operationalize the organ transplant activities, since we have now the facilities here, and another 7.4 billion for the Organ Donation and Transplant Council.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We have this report. It's our report. We are reading it. I think it is important for members to have time for debate. Because the report is available. And this is a wish list. Because from here, they are now going to issue the second budget core circular. And then after, we get ministerial policy statements, which again will come back to the committee. And the Ministry of Finance at that level will have captured maybe additional financing if they get the resource envelope from your recommendations. And then from there, they bring the budget estimates by 1st April. Though we requested the minister to do it earlier together with the tax bills. And then again we scrutinize, okay? So since we went through all this, I think we better open up for debate so that members can discuss their critical areas. But let me allow the chair to conclude on this, and we have a minority report, and then we debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me a minute to sit down. I think it was sweet. I needed it. Committee on Tourism, Committee on Environment and Natural Resources.
I said conclude.
Oh.
Yes, conclude with debate, because we have a report.
Yes.
And the whole report will be captured on the Hansard.
Yeah.
For record purposes.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, in the debate across the different submissions from the different committees, what was really important was the question of health, the question of rural electrification, the question of water, and the question of ambulances, the question of primary schools and secondary schools. So this was what has been done. It's about service points. So if we were considering this budget framework paper, I think, colleagues, we need to pay attention to kind of points that provide services to our people. That is especially water, electricity, roads, health facilities. If we can do something about health, education, and I think that we will have done something that our people sent us to do in this house. I conclude by saying that, Honorable Speaker and members, the committee recommends that this August House adopts these recommendations highlighted in this report and consequently approve the budget framework paper 2026-27 to 2030-31 with amendments for a summary of additional funding requirements as annexed in Annex 1, 2, and 3. I beg to move, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I've been following up with the committee. Honorable Siaga and team have been working in overdrive, but also all committees, sectoral committees, because I know some worked on public holiday, you worked on Sunday. So I really want to appreciate you, honorable colleagues, for the concentration and the time you've put in to catch up with the requirements of the law. But we have a minority report, so Honorable Semujo, please, if you can also summarize it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mine is not very big.
It's minority. It's minor.
Mr. Speaker, the budget framework paper and the main report have most of the issues. We have only disagreed on what to do with them. And I'll straight away go on compliance. Section 8.3 of the Public Finance Management Act states the minister shall for each financial year prepare a budget framework paper which shall be consistent with the National Development Plan and with the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility. Consistency with the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility for Fiscal Responsibility and Development Plan is a legal requirement that even this Parliament cannot waive. One of the fiscal rules in the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility is the reduction of public debt to below 50% of GDP in nominal terms by the year 2025. Right Honourable Speaker and members, you have been presented with a 69 trillion proposed budget, which of course all of you know will keep rising up to the final day of appropriation. Revenue correction is projected at 40 trillion, and the rest of the money, 28 trillion, will be borrowed from domestic and external sources. So the proposal to borrow is captured on page 23 of the framework paper. The amount to be borrowed is nearly 40% of the budget. So if you approve the budget framework paper, which essentially is a draft budget, it means you have authorized the government to borrow the sums captured in the draft. Minister of Finance, the mover of this motion, is warning you that by approving the budget framework paper, you are actually authorizing them to breach the law. Their warning is captured on page 26 of the framework paper. This is what they are saying. For instance, the share of the public debt to GDP is projected to surpass the 50% target for the financial year 2025-26. And the ratio of domestic debt interest payment total revenue is also projected to exceed 12.5% benchmark. Additionally, the targets on fiscal deficit and revenue growth are also likely to be missed. The reason these rules exist is to ensure the country's macroeconomic stability. This is like a hump in a road whose aim is to physically stop reckless drivers from overspeeding. The law wants to stop NRM government from reckless spending. Right Honourable Speaker and members, you therefore cannot proceed with this framework paper unless the Public Finance Management Act and the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility is amended, or both. And it is not only us Parliament who are required to adhere to the law. Section 5 of the PFMA says Cabinet shall, in making decisions with implications on public finances or in determining, formulating and implementing government policies, as well as in performing any other functions conferred on it by this or any other act, adhere to the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility and other requirements. Section 6 provides circumstances under which we may deviate from the objectives in the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. They include a natural disaster, an unanticipated severe economic shock, or any other significant and unforeseen event that cannot be funded from the contingency fund. This is done with the approval of Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker, I am asking, is Parliament being given the right GDP figures? Schedule 3 of the Public Finance Management Act sets out areas the framework paper or the draft budget must address. One of these areas, the average and year-end gross domestic product figures. Sharing the right GDP figures with Parliament is a legal requirement. Just to refresh the mind of honourable members, GDP means the monetary value of goods and services produced in the year. It is these goods and services that we will tax to raise revenue to finance the budget. You must therefore have the right GDP figures at all times to determine how much borrowing are you going to authorize and the right revenue correction projection. In the framework paper, the GDP figure is not explicitly stated. The gross domestic product is stated in the budget framework paper on page 15 as 251 trillion 68. Even that's what the minister said. An increase from 202 trillion in the last year budget framework paper. In his written submission to the budget committee dated January 20th, Minister of State for General Duties, the Honorable Musasi, states on page 2 that GDP is estimated to grow just estimated to grow to 251 trillion. The GDP figure given by the Honorable Musasi is just a forecast. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics puts the GDP at 226 trillion as of last year. And when you calculate the debt to GDP ratio of 51 given on page 20 of the budget framework paper, it gives you 226 trillion as Uganda's GDP, which is 63 billion US dollar. It is therefore wrong for finance to give 251 trillion, which is a forecast, as the GDP figure. There is always a desire by the NRM leaders to exaggerate the country's growth, which is the reason they recalculate the GDP unnecessarily. Conflicting public debt figures. The Minister of Finance gives total public debt figure as 116 trillion, which is 32 billion US dollar on page 20. This finance says is an increase from 94.7 trillion, which is 26 billion, translating into a debt to GDP ratio of 51%. This debt to GDP figure is calculated using the UBOS 226 trillion, what they give in the budget framework paper, as the true GDP figures. Just for emphasis, the stock of public debt is 116 trillion and GDP is 226. Those are the figures that finance is using. However, the Bank of Uganda, in its December 2025 State of the Economy report on page 10, puts public debt at 124 trillion, translating into a 54.8 debt to GDP ratio. You can see the trick here. You lower the figure of public debt and exaggerate GDP to present a lower GDP to a lower debt to GDP ratio. Then you ask Parliament to authorize more borrowing on the pretext of a sustained public debt stock. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, public debt is plunging Uganda into a crisis. The NRM government plans to borrow over 18.5 trillion from the domestic market, commercial banks, to finance the budget. The 8.9 trillion will be new loans to finance the budget and 9.6 trillion to roll over maturing debt. The central bank is concerned with the domestic debt to private sector credit. By overborrowing from commercial banks, the NRM government is crowding out the private sector. The concern of Bank of Uganda is captured on page 10 of their December State of the Economy. If you look at the private credit now, I think it's about 21 trillion, and government is borrowing sometimes up to 19 trillion. So you are competing with the citizens that you want to empower. You remove all the money, they have nothing. Our borrowing from commercial banks starves the private sector, which is employing more than 85% of the population. Ratio of interest to revenue correction. One of the fiscal rules in the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility is reduction of total domestic debt interest payment to revenue, excluding grants, to 12.5%. The government plans to spend 28.6 trillion on debt servicing next financial year, of which 12.7 trillion is interest payment. The interest payment for the domestic debt is 10.7 trillion, which is 26.7% of the projected 40 trillion revenue correction. The target is 12, but you are going to pay interest of 26. And this matter is a matter of law. The rule in the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility is reduction of interest payment on domestic debt 12.5% of revenue. But the budget framework paper interest payment will instead raise to 26. I hope Parliament will resist this. The Minister of Finance also agrees that such an elevated debt service burden shrinks fiscal space, leaving fewer resources available for discretionary spending in high multiplier growth enhancing sectors. And the committee noted that proposals in the budget framework paper offend even common sense. If you look at page 19 of the budget framework paper, the NRM government, the minister is praising here, wants to borrow from external sources 10 trillion to finance various projects. Certainly that will increase our debt stock as a country and will violate the rules we set ourselves out in the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility. The question is, Have we utilized the numerous loans we have contracted to finance various projects for us to contract more? The answer is a big no. And I want to thank the Minister of Finance. They have been very generous with information. If you read the July 2025 report on the performance of externally funded projects, you will know why you have remained poor. You also know the dangers of employing old people in critical offices, knowing their biological inadequacies. When people grow old, every part of the body slows naturally. Even the thinking slows down. They begin to think in installments. Many of the projects for which we have borrowed gross sums of money are either behind schedule or have completely stagnated. And here we are being asked to recklessly approve further borrowing. I now turn to the Minister of Finance report on externally funded projects. The Minister of Finance has been monitoring performance of these projects and done some reports. The latest report samples 66 externally funded projects, as the table below illustrates. We have borrowed money to finance projects. Even in this budget, they are saying we should borrow another 10 trillion. But look, the table. The projects in agro-industrialization, 7 projects here, only 2 have been completed. 1 is on track, others behind schedule. Digital transformation, 2, 1 on track. Human capital development, 14 projects, only 1 completed, 1 on track, 12 are behind schedule. Integrated transport infrastructure and services, 12 projects for which we have borrowed money, only 2 completed, 1 on track, 18 behind schedule. I don't need to go, but the total below is that you have a total here of 66 projects sampled by finance. Only 6 are completed, 5 on track, 55 of these projects are behind schedule, including ones that you will see that have stagnated. And I'll give a list here. I'll be very brief because this is not my list. It is a list of Honorable Musasi. Kampala Jinja Expressway. We borrowed money to do this road. And I'll go to the last line. This is how finance has assessed this. The physical progress of the project is 0. Money borrowed, progress is 0. They are saying, let us borrow more. That's what is in the budget framework paper. Busega Mpigi Expressway. Construction is at 46%. This road was supposed to have been completed years ago. They are at 46%. Part of the reason you will see, they are saying they don't have counter funding. And then they are saying, let us borrow and begin more projects. That's why I said you even offend common sense. In Entebbe Airport rehabilitation, this one, there is progress. But the point is, because of the delays, we are now required to pay to the contractor the total sum of 34.9 million US dollar because we delayed. So the contractor says, you delayed here and here, pay me money. Even this one, although progressing, it was never delivered on time. The Bukasa project port, this one hasn't started at all, still in the preliminary. Kampala flyover construction, finance says it has stagnated. Kampala City Roads rehabilitation, they are now revising it. The time elapsed, they are revising it. And you know each revision comes with money. Multinational Kapchorwa, Suyam Kitare and Eldoret bypass. This one has almost been completed, but after a delay. Change Johoima Masindi Chigumba Road. The project have not been completed, more money is needed. National Lake Victoria Maritime Communication Transport Project. Here, overall progress is from 37 to by the end of April. So all these projects, they have delayed, no counter funding, they are contracting more. Ruwero Butarang Road, work is at 67%. A road that they started nearly 10 years ago, they haven't completed. Short stretch. Moyo, Yumbe, Koboko Road project. And you keep asking, why does the president repeat these roads in every budget? The progress, as you have seen, on some projects, it is 0. So every year he repeats, you think government is working. Namagunga Budadiri Narugugu Road project. The progress of the project was at 4% against a planned 4.3. This one is still in infancy. The Northeastern Road Corridor Asset Management Project. Maybe I don't have to read each and every project that is here. But you need members to interact with these projects. And I am saying in this minority report, as I try to conclude, that we borrow money to do projects for which we pay a lot of money in interest, and we never complete this work. Part of the reason, no counter-funding. Anyone who's sensible, you will not be contracting more loans when you don't have counter-funding to finish the ones that you have undertaken. You will see there is one here for private sector. I think I will stop with that one. Which is project 22. Investment for industrial transformation and employment project. The investment for industrial transformation and employment is a collaborative program between the government of Uganda, represented by Minister of Finance, Bank of Uganda, private sector, and the development partners. So this project, we borrowed $218 million. The idea was that the project starts in 2022 and ends in 2027. However, due to delays in approval, the project effectiveness date was 13th November 2023 and the closing date is 31st January 2027. The project stagnated, targeted to benefit 140,000 medium, small and macro enterprises and 120,000 refugees. Of these, at least 40,000 expected to be women-led macro enterprises. The larger-sized firms also benefit from the intervention. The overall project performance was poor at approximately 0.3% and significantly behind schedule. Even where you want to borrow money to help companies that are employing people, you don't utilize it. And then you come to Parliament, you say, can we borrow more? I don't know, maybe the Honorable Musasizi enjoys the word borrowing. So if he ever brings a report that doesn't have the word borrowing, you will feel very bad. You have electricity access scale-up project, same problem. Upgrade of health centers, 2 to 3, same problem, behind schedule. Uganda Secondary Education Expansion Project, money borrowed, project not making progress. I am saying in this report, don't allow them to borrow until they have completed and made progress on these ones, or else you'll just be enlarging the list. You borrow money, you pay. When you are looking at the report on loans, you will discover we pay commitment fees on money unutilized, which money we need to do other things that are being listed here.
Can you read the report?
If I read the report, I will delay because now I am concluding. If you want me, Mr. Speaker, I can read the report.
If you had read it,
I will delay. I am concluding now. I am on page 15, which is the last one, on rate of employment and unemployment. The committee notes that actually this information is not given, yet is a requirement by the law. One of the economic variables, the budget framework paper is supposed to address the rate of employment and unemployment in the country. This is what Schedule 3 of the law demands. Without providing any basis, the Minister of Finance states on page 16 of the framework paper that one of the macroeconomic objectives of government next financial year is to increase the stock of new jobs to about 800,000. The figure of how many jobs they created this or last year is not given, just throwing figures around. The target of government in the NDP3 was to create 512,000 jobs annually. Like other NRM targets, this was never made. Maybe they have only made the one of staying in power. National Planning Authority in Empowerment and Skills Status Report 2022 reported that the yearly net job creation averaged 320,000 against a target of 500,000. This is too little considering that every year 700,000 Ugandans join the job market. If you look at the figures of PAYE and NSSF, there are just about 2.5 million formal jobs, which keep fluctuating. The public sector, as you are aware, employs just 400,000, and the rest are in private sector. National Planning Authority estimates 15 0.8 million to be of the working age, and 13 million of these are in the private sector. The Igbo census report puts the figure of the working age going by the labor policy of 2011 to about 24 million. The planning also it says the quality of jobs in Uganda remains low, with 78% of the labor force engaged in vulnerable employment characterized with low pay and job insecurity. Uganda, according to NPA and World Bank reports, has the lowest business survival rate in the world. Only 1 out of the 4 farms remain operational after the first years of existence. This is what budget must address, but it is being mentioned in passing in the usual NRM business as usual casual manner. Younger people need jobs, and you cannot respond to this demand by violence and prison. Hundreds demanding equality life have been brutalized and imprisoned during this electoral period. Mr. Speaker, you know Sam Mugumya. We've been told he is being held by the army, very sick. Maybe you're not even sure if he has not died. So this is the response of the NRM. When people are demanding for work, prison. The NPA notes that while official figures show that unemployment reduced from 11 to 9 and 8.8%, in absolute terms, unemployment persists as a result of many Ugandans engaged in vulnerable employment, which is often characterized by low productivity. That's why our girls mainly are being trafficked to Middle East to work as housemaids. The boys who remain here are being marched to Luzira, Chitaria, and Kigo for disturbing the judges. The World Bank, in its July 2025 Human Capital Development and Growth Review, says Uganda is failing to harness 61% of its human capital for socio-economic development. Mr. Speaker, I am only emphasizing information which the Honorable Mr. Asizi has given, and I thank him, which the committee has given, but they are shying away. They are saying, you, regardless of the non-compliance, please approve the framework paper. These are the dangers that you face. I ask you, honorable members, to reject this framework paper. They go and do it. First, to comply with the law, and second, to comply with common sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Shadow Minister. I'll request the Minister of Finance, if he has any responses which would want to make, which can guide us during debate.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to appreciate the Majority Committee of the Budget and the other sectoral committees for the deep analysis they have done on our budget framework paper. I also wish to thank Honorable Semuju, the Shadow Minister of Finance, for strengthening and emphasizing some of the points which we made in our report. Mr. Speaker, it is true that our public debt is projected to go beyond 50% minimum target. But Mr. Speaker, this is not the problem. Why? Because our numbers continue to show that our debt obligations are manageable now and also in the long term. We have not failed to pay on any commitment as and when it falls due. Mr. Speaker, on debt, the focus of all of us should be, what are we borrowing for? If we are borrowing to invest in the economy, there is no problem. If we are borrowing to grow our GDP, there is no problem. it becomes a problem when we are borrowing for luxury. That is the borrowing we should all be concerned about. Mr. Speaker, on the GDP numbers, our source of information is UBOS. And what UBOS gives us, Mr. Speaker, we should trust the authorities we put in charge of some of these numbers. So if we come here and begin questioning the numbers UBOS has given us on GDP, then which other authority would we rely on? Mr. Speaker, also on the debt numbers, our difference with BOU is mainly on the timing. Whereas for us, we report as per June, sometimes BOU captures as per December. And this creates the small variance you see. Like now you are seeing 116 by us and 124 by BOU. If we go into June of 2026, you will see our number capturing what BOU has captured. Mr. Speaker, the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility is our guiding tool, together with the NDP and also the manifesto. However, Mr. Speaker, consistency does not mean exact. Consistency means whatever you are doing should be close to the what? To the guiding principles. Mr. Speaker, when you deviate from the charter this year, as long as you commit that within a certain period, you will come back to the charter, this explanation is acceptable. Therefore, my friend, Honorable Semuju, I wish to invite you to look at these things squarely. We have been together in this. I'm going to miss you because you have been helping me in keeping me awake. Because sometimes you go deeper to invite me to do a deep analysis of some of these things. But also I invite you to, let's always look at these matters squarely. And maybe lastly, on the projects. Yes, we have a number of projects which we have borrowed for and have not taken off. But where have we come from? In 2012, the situation which was there, some of you, my colleagues who have been here with us, you know that we would borrow for a project even when there is no appraisal or feasibility study being done. You find Parliament approving funding for a project where no process has taken place. But now, Mr. Speaker, I wish to inform the House that for a project now to come here, it must pass through our PIMS process. And we are now saying that where there is no money for counterpart funding, no, I am not accusing Parliament. I am accusing both of us. Yes, I'm not accusing Parliament. I am saying this previously used to happen. But for now, what have we done? We have subjected up serious approvals, rigorous approvals, PIMS process, and also for the project to succeed, we must confirm that there is counterpart funding in the budget. And this is why you see, I'm sure, colleagues, most of our stakeholders come to lobby you. Why is our project not moving? Why is this, that? There is now serious restrictions. And going forward, Mr. Speaker, I commit that this weakness of delayed projects will not continue happening. I want to use this example of Busegampigi. Busegampigi, this is one of the projects I found in the ministry. When the borrowing had been done, you borrow, you approve a request for borrowing, no feasibility study has been done, nobody has even gone on ground to assess where the road is going to pass. And by the time we go on ground, we find that the cost which was initially borrowed is not even half of what is required. You ideally need another amount amounting to 100% or so.
Maybe, Honorable Minister, just clarification, because I was part of the National Economy Committee when we approved that loan. We went on the ground. We saw, okay, where the road was going to pass. The ministry, I remember the committee was chaired by the Honorable Saida Bumba. It was really, I want to absolve myself if your government didn't do your part. And I want to tell you where the problem came from. And you told us as government that we shall be having around 14 kilometers of swamp. And we are going to build above the swamp. Because we were concerned on environmental degradation. I think I had Honorable Alex Biarugawa, Honorable Rico, Honorable Cooper. We were all members of that committee. And we asked very many difficult questions. They presented the feasibility study. Engineer Patrick Mureme presented the full design. And we spent days and we had a robust debate here because Honorable Katuntu, I remember when he was talking about the cost of the road. Now the problem came when they reached in UNRA and changed the design. They changed the design and now decided to backfill the swamp. Okay? They changed the design to backfill the swamp. They had told us in the design, they had included in the design connecting to the Entebbe Expressway and the bypass. In the design they gave the contractor, there was no connection to the expressway. So what is very important, Honourable Minister, why I brought out this, it is very important for you to inform government agencies that what you bring to Parliament and is approved should be what is implemented. Otherwise, the project ended up costing more than double. Yeah, so I just wanted that to go on record. Otherwise, I couldn't sit on a committee that would approve a loan where there was no feasibility study.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for that institutional memory. However, we have struggled to correct those past mistakes. No, there is nothing. The speaker was enhancing my submission. So, Mr. Speaker, I wish to inform the House that all these mistakes have been corrected, and now we are at the point of starting. We are at the point of takeoff. The Busegampigi project is now going to take off. Mr. Speaker, I think I have tried to, on the unemployment rate, yes, this is a big concern to all of us as Ugandans and representatives of the people. But the question of focus should be, where are these jobs? The jobs are mainly in the ATMs. And when you look at the priorities I highlighted in my motion, I am requesting Parliament to appropriate money in these key areas which bring jobs to the people of Uganda. I think this is what we should really be concerned most about. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. So, honorable colleagues, we are going to have a debate on the report because the reports are together. We have seen the issues raised by the Honorable Semuju, consistency with the requirements of the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility. I think we are going to get a new charter soon, isn't it? Just 3 months after. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I wish to inform the House that we are preparing a new charter. It will be coming soon, before this House is prorogued.
I think 3 months after the election. Yeah, as per the law. So we're going to ensure that's followed. And it's very, Honourable Minister, I think on the issue of deviation, we need to go to agree, really. Maybe you can always engage with colleagues, even off this platform, okay, on these matters. For example, when you look at Section 7 of the PFM on deviation, we had COVID, which hit you hard, one of the issues which would have been a reason for you revising the charter. And I think the moment we keep interacting, even off here, some of the deviations, because some of the pressures you're having were due to natural disasters and unforeseen circumstances. And then we come here, we debate, and we see how best we can move. But on the issue of loans, honourable colleagues, I think, Honourable Minister, we shall need more clarity and more commitments going forward. In the budget, we shall maybe see in the Ministerial Policy Statement and in the budget estimate the commitments you make on counterpart funding. Because the Committee on National Economy always gets the commitment in writing, but the money is not in. So I think when we are scrutinizing the budget, Honourable Chair for Budget, we shall need to focus much on counterpart funding, but also completion of the loans, of the projects. And maybe, Honourable Minister, the issue of acquisition of land before taking off of these projects. Because it's a very big concern. Someone is given, they commence the project when land is not available. One says, I mobilized it, I need $30 million. My equipment was idle. I think you need to be much, much stronger on that. Otherwise, honourable colleagues, I want to guide our debate because the budget framework paper is not about the road that is not in your constituency. It's not about the classroom that has not yet been finished. No, it's linking national development objectives to the budget, to the proposed expenditure in a national framework manner, not just your constituency. And the moment we take that route, it will be much, much easier. And maybe, Chairman, budget, I don't know how we shall narrow down, because everything that was captured when I was reading through the report, you'll find we have nearly over 200 trillion of unfunded priorities, over 200 trillion. So we are throwing what the agencies had thrown at the ministry, and the ministry said my resource envelope is 69 trillion, and we are again throwing it back on. So I think we need, you need to guide the committee that we reduce at this level of BFP. We don't capture whatever they brought us unfunded. Chairman, budget, you wanted to comment on that? The Chairman is Yagi. And then we continue with the debate. And Mayor, we welcome you, Road Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honourable.
Congratulations, Honourable Korik. And we shall support you from here. Shall support you to make our city work. Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honourable. Right Honourable and colleagues, we only have these issues because of the way we do the budget. And I would like to ask to agree with our colleagues, the sector committees, not to receive the budgets from the MDS without costed worker plans. I would like to agree that there is a lot of money redundant within the budgets, which cannot be justified. But now we need to drill down to the last shilling by all these MDAs providing costed work plans. You will find money being abandoned. I thank you.
Chairman, Budget Committee, can I guide that you hold a meeting as the chairman of the Budget Committee with the Minister of Finance and his team? He will determine who to come with, and chairpersons of committees to agree on how you're going to process this budget from MPSs, from Ministry of Policy Statement, so that we make your work easy. Would it help?
Yes, most obliged.
Yeah, so arrange and coordinate with all chairpersons. Since they are members of your committee, you have an in-house meeting. Yes, Honorable Taylor.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, on that matter, there is an unsettled debate which probably could guide this House. We have had issues on what amounts to budgeting and appropriation. At every time on the request of costed work plans, the response from finance, usually the PSST, is that we are going into budgeting and not appropriation. So we have not settled that discussion between the technical team of Ministry of Finance and this institution. That is why in the last budgeting cycle we had issues which led to the challenges we had on the processing of the budget. It's my humble prayer that we have that matter settled, appropriation budgeting vis-a-vis the responsibility of the House. I thank you.
No, but where is the problem? Because appropriation is what we do on the table here on the final day. Because appropriation is the law. Okay? There we are passing the appropriation bill. Okay? Which has very clear figures that would say go here, go here, go here. But now the process to reach on those final figures that would go into the appropriation bill that would consider here on the table is what is very, very critical. So, Honourable Minister, what Honourable Taylor is raising, isn't it an issue which you can guide on? You can guide your technical people to reconcile with our committee?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't know what Honourable Taylor is trying to drive at, but as far as we are concerned, we have no problem in this process. Us at Finance, it's a consultative process between Parliament and the Ministry of Finance. And we have always agreed by consensus on these issues. That's why even you see in the House, unlike in the previous, I remember in the 9th Parliament, there are times when we would have a lot of back and forth, even the extent of voting on the budget. But here, we always harmonize and come here when we have really harmonized. So, Mr. Speaker, me, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what the chair of budget and the members think, but from our side as Finance, we really appreciate the working relationship on the budget with Parliament, both from the leadership and the committee members and all committees of the House, because we always consult each other in these processes.
So, Honourable Minister, colleagues, issues to do with the process and all that, let them be handled in that meeting between leadership of the Budget Committee with the leadership of sector committees, okay, and Minister of Finance, so that you go in-house, you see where there are challenges, you harmonize, and you come up with a budget and process that is acceptable to all of us, okay? Thank you. Colleagues, the debate. Yes, Isaac, Enos, Dr. Boka. Oh, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, Rinda, Honorable Net, Honorable Pachuto, Honorable Chamonges, Honorable Nachimwero. 3 minutes each.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I thank the Chair Budget Committee for the presentation of this initial budget paper. Right Honorable Speaker, I do acknowledge and appreciate the Ministry of Finance. Of course, we can see he has presented the budget, the National Budget Framework paper, that is less about 2.9 trillion to the 2025-2026 budget of 72 trillion. That means they are acknowledging what we always call for in this parliament, reduction in expenditure. But I hope the number will not increase by the time we reach the final budget estimates. Right Honourable Speaker, the issue of water. Water, of course, is a cornerstone to most of the national developments, indeed. It is a driver in terms of health and in terms of national development. And what we have done in this parliament is that in the beginning, we still had over 20,000 villages not connected to safe water. And it is sad that even at this point, there is not much emphasis being done in terms of providing safe water to most of our communities, despite of water being one of the major crucial drivers in terms of health and in terms of also making sure that we have safe water for our areas. Most of our villages are still not connected. So I hope this is a matter that can be taken up very seriously in the next budget cycle. It's a bit saddening that the money for the Ministry of Works in terms of maintenance, their budget has been reduced by about 12%. This is a bit sad because, one, we know very well what is happening in most of our roads. The condition of our roads needs a lot of money, and if right now we are starting to see reduction in the budget which is supposed to be used for maintaining our roads, this is something we need to actually look at very clearly. Right, Mr. Speaker, I also think that it is crucial for the entities, especially like Ministry of Works, that the money which comes for maintenance should at least be increased. We are focusing on new roads, but forgetting the already existing roads. So the 3 steps we move forward, we come back again backwards. So I think we'll try and make sure we have enough money in terms of maintenance of our roads. In terms of electricity, that's another key development in the National Development Program. And like the Chair Budget informed us, the issue of rural electrification. That is something which has always come up every year regarding the money. Ever since we closed the rural electrification company, things have stopped going right in our country, in our rural settings. I hope something comes out clearly from the Ministry and from the Ministry of Finance, what plans they have in making sure that our sub-counties in the villages that are not yet connected to electricity can be connected to electricity. Because in order to improve PDM as a national development program, we need access to electricity in our rural areas so that we have enough small-scale factories coming in. Right over speak also, I noticed that in the education, in the Ministry of Education's vote, the money for enhancing the salary of arts teachers.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to thank the team, the Budget Committee, but specifically I would say I support the motion that we pass the Budget Framework paper, but Right Honourable Speaker, I would like a few clarifications from the Minister. On page 6, the committee captures the allocative efficiency of the Budget Framework paper. The policy preamble is very beautiful. It smartly addresses our policy direction and all that. But when it comes to allocation, it does not reflect the policy direction. For example, I'm seeing that they have preliminarily allocated 84 billion to UDB from 414 billion to 84. I'm seeking clarification from the Honourable Minister. What could be the reason to move from 414 to 84 billion? Number 2, Right Honourable Speaker, we talk about the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility. It was capturing, it does not have a transitional period. The Public Finance Management Act lacks the transitional period. Because when you check, now we are going to pass the budget without the charter. The charter is going to come after the budget. Now, my question again to the minister, I'm seeking clarification, because some time ago we had asked for amendment of the act. Possibly we would have amended the act to capture that transitional period. When do you plan to bring an amendment to the PFMA so that we deal with most of the loopholes there? Number two, Mr. Speaker, on page 18 they are talking about moving the poverty rates moving from 38 to 33%, and that comes from the PDM intervention. Through you, Mr. Speaker, again, when does the minister intend to bring us a review of the?
Were these 3 minutes?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm seeking again clarification from the minister on when we intend to have the review of the PDM to understand whether it's actually effective or not, because we are adding in more money, but we've not had any serious report or discussion on the performance of this program. Number three, Mr. Speaker, again, the last question to the minister would be on, actually this should be to the Prime Minister, because on page 29 they're talking about project execution being affected by land acquisition and all that. Some time ago we mentioned having an amendment to the Land Act so that we can help government to deal with project execution, mostly for areas where people refuse to give way to projects. When do we have this amendment brought to the House so that we can deal with this once and for all? Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. But Honorable Enos, for the record, we have a charter. No. Just a charter is 5 years. And when you go to section 5 of the PFMA, the minister shall not less than 3 months after the first sitting of the parliament, after general election. So meaning we are still in this current charter. Okay? Yeah.
Mr. Speaker,
we cannot have
the same act talks about the charter taking 5 years, being renewed every 5 years.
Yes.
But when you look at the 5 years, it started with the budget of 2021, 2022. So when you do the calculation, it actually ended with the last budget. The budget we are dealing with of 26-27 will come into effect before the charter. That particular charter
is your mathematics. I didn't perform well in mathematics, but is yours really? Honorable, we have a charter, and that's why it's designed that way. So you have discounted 1 year if you do 5 years, okay? Yes, we have a charter, and we expect the minister 3 months after the first sitting of parliament to bring a draft charter which we must process so that it can guide the next budgeting cycle. Honorable Kadidi, then Honorable Nachimwero, then I come back to Honorable Siraj.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to support the motion for approval of the budget framework paper. I have 3 observations. Observation number 1 is related to the performance of externally financed projects. Whereas on the one hand, we blame ourselves, the ministries, departments, agencies, and the parliament. On the other hand, there are certain practices within the donor conditionalities that constrain us. A case in point is the World Bank funded projects. And an example is the Uganda electricity scale-up project that was supposed to extend power to a number of communities that have not been connected. A case in point is Obongi constituency, where the project started 2-3 years ago, and a resettlement action plan has to be approved by the bank. And the ministry is waiting for that approval from the bank, which to me is micromanagement. As government, we need to sit down with our partners to review some of those micromanagement conditions. 2, external financing to the humanitarian community has grossly reduced, especially in refugees hosting districts. This has resulted in laying off of many Ugandans,
in the social service delivery sector. Our schools are understaffed, health facilities are understaffed because UNHCR and OPM and the many international and national organizations have laid down staff. Would like to see in the budget framework paper, the ministerial policy statement, and the ultimate allocation of resources for wage to be provided to recruit the staff that have been laid off and made redundant. Last but not least, Mr. Speaker, sir, while the president was traversing the country, he made a lot of pledges. And a case in point is the promise of a hospital for Obongi district. These are social contracts that should be considered in the annual work plan and budget, in the ministerial policy statements, and in the budget framework papers that we look forward to. I thank you.
Honorable Nachimwero.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, first of all, we would like to get an explanation on the targets that we set ourselves to achieve, especially in the Charter, versus the convenience at the moment. Because if we divert from what we set ourselves to do, then it disturbs our thoughts. And in that line, Right Honorable Speaker, we came up with the National Development Plan 4, and it stipulated a number of targets. But you find that the submissions of most ministerial statements do not recognize these targets. And now we wonder what directs our concentration and submission and allocation of resources. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of compensation is a serious one to derailing projects. I have identified that we need some special investigations on people who own land prior to project activities, especially in swamps. You find that nobody is supposed to have a title in swamps, but the moment a project is going to take place, ownership prevails, new titles, very recent new titles. I wonder why these are considered heavily compensated, taking a lot of project money, and we end up losing on electricity distribution and also water distribution, and very many other projects remain unfinished. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of market access is still missing. We are trying to encourage our people to produce, but the income from what they produce is, people are not certain. And this is what makes our people very poor. We stay here claiming that the GDP has improved, we are performing well, but the actual pockets of our people are empty, and people are crying in absolute poverty. Why aren't these documents and observations not tally with the pockets of our people? We need to explain this, and it needs to come out very well in our submissions. But based on the recently concluded campaigns, you can see that there was a lot of explanation on whether the government is for the people or not, based on the service deliveries.
Thank you, Honorable Siraj. Then Honorable Rinda, then Honorable Net.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, the budget framework emphasized on the issue of employment opportunity. And it also emphasized on the issue of agro-industry. Right Honorable Speaker, we talked about how our youth have gone to Middle East in order to work there. And these youths could easily be absorbed in the industries that are constructed here in Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, there are regions in Uganda where industries have not been built. Yet people have given lands for the construction of these industries. Like in West Nile, you will find that people have given lands for industrial parks, and these lands have stayed there for long, unutilized. Right Honorable Speaker, since the budget framework has talked about the issue of agro-industrialization, I will request that something should be done in order to see that industries should be put on those places where industrial parks are given, so that our youths are employed in those areas. That could be the point where we could avail employment opportunities to our youths. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Rinda, then Honorable Annette, then Honorable Pachuto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to seek clarification from the Minister of Finance, more especially on conditions that have been set and they have affected project implementation. A case in point is ULAN project, where we approved a loan last year to rehabilitate traditional schools. There's a condition that has been put that these traditional schools must have titles. These schools have been in existence for more than 100 years. And now the project cannot take on because the traditional schools sit on titles of the church land. So it is a very big problem, and now we are almost half year, and these schools may not benefit. So we'd like to get clarification and we see what can we do. Otherwise, these conditions will continue affecting budget performance. Then secondly is on the issue of stalled projects. There are bridges that have been constructed, they are not completed. We have roads that have been on construction for the last 7 years, they have never been completed. Please, can we give these projects priority so that we complete these works? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Annette Mugisha and Honorable Pachuto.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity in approval of the budget framework paper. However, Mr. Speaker, permit me to raise an issue of abandoned electricity poles that were put up by REA 10 years ago. Right Honourable Speaker, last year around this time, we were here. And as 11th Parliament, we unanimously agreed that we prioritize connecting the electricity poles to the grid across the country. Right Honourable Speaker, up to now, nothing has been done. And we are not being brought up to speed. Mr. Speaker, during my campaign trail, the question of electricity was very pertinent by voters. And we kept on telling them that money is in the budget. They are going to connect these poles to the grid. However, I'm surprised that the budget framework paper we are about to approve, it is nowhere to be seen. And again, the financial year is coming to the end. We need the Ministry of Energy to bring us up to speed and tell us the progress. Mr. Speaker, it is a very serious issue. We are failing to legislate. We are failing to represent our people. And therefore, we need a very authentic response so that when we go back to our people, we actually also tell them what is going on. Otherwise, the situation is as bad as that. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Pachuto. Then Honorable Rusakero. Then Dr. Pio. Colleagues, I finished this side. I finished this side. I'm now this side.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, allow me to congratulate you and all other members here who participated in the recent elections. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to commend the Committee of Budget for the good report, as well as the minority report. Right Honourable Speaker, in a special way, allow me to commend the managers of this country, especially those in charge of the economy, whereby in the BFP, it has been reported that our balance, there's a positive balance of payment arising from the great support that government has given, support and attention paid to the coffee growing and gold. I also want to commend the Committee of Budget for recommending that there has to be a budget enhancement for the fishing sector to about 48 billion. Right, Honorable Speaker, I think that apart from coffee and gold, our next economic activity that can really even make our BOP much better is the fishing industry. I know that the Budget Committee has recommended 48 billion, but for me, I think having come from the fishing communities, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to persuade the House and the Minister of Finance to even increase the amount to about 3 times what the Budget Committee has reported, because the fishing communities have gone through a hell of things in the last 5 years, and they are all looking forward to this budget for the next financial year to salvage them from where they have been. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to comment on the budget on the Budget Committee's report, where it is stated that the BFP is not consistent with the NDP 4. To me, this implies that the planning for this country is not compatible with the strategic goals of this country, Mr. Speaker. I therefore want to, and this could be largely due to insufficient allocation to the NPA. For that reason, Right Honorable Speaker, I would recommend that the Ministry reconsiders strengthening NPA further so that our budgeting and planning are in tandem. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, on the issue of wage bills, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to support that.
Thank you. I had forgotten Honorable Chemonges was supposed to be the next one. Then I come to Honorable Rusakero.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I want to support the BFP, however, with some recommendations or seeking some clarifications on when you listen to the presentation, you feel that we are really in a right road. But with the experience for the 4 years I've been here, Honorable Minister, you know, I've read it and I've understood it, but we need some clarifications on major education, for example, coding of primary schools. Because we have very many parishes that do not have schools, primary schools, very many of them. Then on issues of water, you find we have districts with the town councils. Personally, I have our district of Queen has 3 town councils. These are town councils without water, no water. They should actually be closed. Then we have issues of power. It's a very serious issue. We have invested money even in these industrial skilling centers. We are now thinking about many other ways of creating jobs, like we talk about the industrialization. But issue of power, even in the seed schools we have invested money. You find we have computers, we have what, but we don't have power. We have health industries, we don't have power. For the last 3 years we have been talking about power, we have gotten money from here, but members, there is nothing like power in our areas. So I want to say, this is where I almost agree with the Honorable Semuju. For example, when we talked about even roads, we have our road, the Kapchorwa, Swam. They are saying the road is complete, but there are very many components that came with the road that are not complete. The town council roads. in my town council, that's Benin, we were given 3 kilometers of the town council roads. They have only done 1 kilometer. They have left 2 kilometers. The road, and they are saying the road is complete. So everybody is worried. They even prepared the roads that were to be tarmacked. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I would be very happy, and I think even to members, if such things are clarified. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Honorable
you.
Mr. Akero.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to thank the committee and also the minority report. Mr. Speaker, I want to start from what my colleague stated about the seed schools. I had actually noted it here. For some time, we have been talking about this. And if we're talking about employment, just like you said, Honorable Minister, this is one area that would find many of our people employed. Unfortunately, not seed school are the primary schools which were coded, but up to now they are not operational. And then two, I want to applaud you. The policy on SAGE was amended and the age was reduced to 65. That's really a plus, and my people are very happy about this. And I'm also happy that it has been accompanied with I think, some funding. I hope it goes up to the end. And then, Mr. Speaker, our policy on health centers, very clear. Unfortunately, this is not being implemented. Many of our sub-counties in Uganda still don't have health center theories. This should be also implemented. Finally, Mr. Speaker, if we are talking about agro-industrialization, we cannot leave out the issue of our roads. I remember there's a time we sat here as Parliament the whole day and we were talking about the state of our roads. If I remember very vividly, we talked about the machines which are missing, and it is my wish, really, that our BFP really captures this and also increase in the funding to the road sector, especially at district level. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Dr. Pio.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And
Honorable colleagues, I finished this side. You know, when we were starting, I picked colleagues from this side and then I went here. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and I want to thank the committee for the report. Within this budget framework paper, I think one of the key issues is the level of alignment with NDP4. When you look at Table 1.18 under NDP4, it lists core projects under NDP4, which are indicating the start date, the end date, and even the funding. But when you look at the report, there is no provision of some of these core projects. For example, construction of the Karuma Bridge, which connects us to South Sudan and even to Congo. And last year we had serious issues on it, and the repairs were told will only be temporary. But now we don't have any provision for this core project. My request to the minister is to have this considered under the second budget circular. The second issue is that this budget is also an AFCON budget, because it's the last budget before we host AFCON next year in June 2027. However, one of the critical infrastructure projects, construction of the Kona-Yer, Kona-Bohe-Icheme Bobi Road, which is supposed to connect Gulu City to Lira City, has not been considered. Again, I want to request that that is considered in the second budget circular. And lastly is the NRM manifesto. After approval of the NDP4, there were new commitments that came up. For example, in Lango, Acholi, and Teso, the issue of cattle restocking came up towards the campaign period. And whatever has been provided is not really substantial to address the commitments. So again, I want to appeal that let's have this aligned to some of those post-NDP4 commitments that came in during the campaign period, so that there is full alignment with the NRM manifesto, with the AFCON requirements, and also with the NDP4. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Seungu, and then Honorable Mruri Mukasa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as the law left behind, I want to thank the Minister for his presentation and the chairperson of the committee. But in my humble prayer, before I look at the issues, when you look at the minority report, Honorable Minister, the Busega Express Highway, now we are in 4 years, Masaka Road being closed at MPG, and no work is going on. Can I make a humble plea through the Speaker that since there's no work going on, kindly open this road for a time being. When you resume work, then business goes back to what you want. But imagine for 4 years, 4 years, we are going through MPG. And the tarmac within MPG will not be given in consideration when the road is worked on. So what do we lose? Because they have put permanent fixtures on the road, vehicles which have had accidents are placed on the road, but within your powers and the Ministry of Works, sit and agree, open for us this road. Otherwise, the jam we are facing is too much. Mr. Speaker, sir, I do pray and seek, since you and the Minister of Finance, Uganda, agree on this minority report, some of the areas, why don't you sit and agree on some of the issues raised in the minority report? The moment you take that, you solve problems of this institution. It's very painful whenever a budget proposal brought here, Mr. Speaker, and after passing the budget, nothing is implemented. The challenge goes on the members of parliament. The same members did not support the budget. But we as the institution, as an arm of government, we give you all the support you want. What makes you fail to get counter funding? Is it parliament or the weakness is on your side? That question is between you and your office and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, sir, borrowing, non-performing loans. I don't know how much I can talk about. I am very interested in talking about teachers and their salaries with the commitment given by government. But should I come on the floor and say we should also borrow money for financing salaries? It shouldn't be me in this suit I'm putting on. So, but, Mr. Speaker, for me, I don't have more than what I can say from the minority report. It's the duty of the Minister of Finance and your team. Look what is in the minority report. Look what members have raised so that we avoid every time going for supplementaries. Yet the planning is on your side. Mr. Speaker, that's what I can say. But the issue of Massacre Road, since both of us, Mr. Speaker, use the same road, there is nothing wrong by opening up that road for a time being, and when you resume your contract, your road, then you close it as you work.
We have provided money, now they should resume work and finish. Yeah? You remember we passed a loan here. Yes, Honorable Minister Mruri Mukasa.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate you and the rest of the members here for having gone through a very hectic election exercise, and for you who succeeded, congratulations, and those that didn't, there's still another time. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the Minister for presenting this budget framework paper. It's very good. However, when I looked at it, I found there's one big element which was not included, maybe by oversight, maybe not, and that is the enhancement of salaries, particularly for the arts teachers and the local government workers. We've been here many times on the floor of Parliament over this issue of enhancement, and as a government we made commitments. We made commitments to the teachers, the unions, and so on. Yes, that come the next financial year, there would be some enhancement. However, when I saw it here, there was nothing. I saw 0, 0, 0. That does not augur well. We presented a budget to the Minister of Finance not only for the teachers, but for the entire workforce. Some of the workers there have not been enhanced since 2014. And actually, the category of workers who have enhanced is about 34% of the entire workforce. 66% has not had enhancement. Yet, the public servant, if we look at the whole thing as in machines, the software, if we want all these programs for economic development, very first one, I think we cannot afford to ignore the public servant who is going to put all these things into effect. Let's have a service that is, well, remunerated very well and properly motivated, and then some of these developments we want will move very fast. I wish to implore the Minister of Finance that in the next budget circular that is coming, surely that aspect of enhancement, particularly of the teachers and the local government workers, is not left out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Honourable Minister, I don't know whether the second budget code circular comes to Cabinet, but I would urge that also be alert in Cabinet, because whatever comes here is from Cabinet. So be alert and we ensure we don't miss out.
Thank you very much for that prompt. I've actually been alert, and my colleague here is aware that when it comes to that, I've never slept.
Yeah.
However, for some reason or other, and they promise that they are going to do something, but when it comes here, there's nothing. But one thing must be clear, really, and let it be known. The remuneration of workers is important. If we are going to have this rapid economic development, we must have a properly remunerated workforce, and then we shall see the results. Challenge us.
Thank you.
Let's have this money, and you see our performance. If we don't perform, then you'll be right not to raise our money. But challenge us.
Thank you.
And I promise, give us this money, and the performance will be superb. Thank you very much.
And Honourable Minister, count on us here. We shall join hands with you and the Minister of Finance to ensure this is achieved. Honourable Minister for Finance, if you could start with that point, it would be even the happiest.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the issue of salaries for teachers and other government workers is a matter dear and known to us. But the President has always asked, in a situation where we can't do everything at a go, what do we start with? The prioritization element in budgeting. Do we borrow to pay teachers? Honorable Sewungo was asking. So, Mr. Speaker, this budget, Mr. Speaker, my main role is in the budget is to show you how much money I have in a given financial year, and together we agree on how to spend it. Mr. Speaker, after the next stage, we will go back to Cabinet to seek approval of estimates of revenue and expenditure. And by that time, we will ask Cabinet we'll put to Cabinet's attention the concerns Parliament has raised, and we get their guidance. At this point, I cannot commit. I will make a commitment after Cabinet has given me authorization. Mr. Speaker, mainly three things. One, Honorable Isaac is concerned that the resource envelope has declined 69, and he hopes this will not change. Mr. Speaker, in my motion, I said this is a preliminary resource envelope. Preliminary means it can either increase or reduce depending on the circumstances that will come as we finalize the budget. But most importantly is that, Mr. Speaker, on December 16th, on 16th of December 2025, I came here and presented the supplementary budget. And in this supplementary was, for example, money for maintenance of roads, 1.6 trillion. Maintenance items are recurrent in nature. These will still come back in. So, Mr. Speaker, there are items which have not yet been captured at this stage, especially the recurrent items. I'm sure you heard the chair mentioning something about the arrears. We have the commitment to make good all the arrears in 3 years. And when we look at our numbers, that requires about 1.4 trillion per annum. So, Mr. Speaker, the budgets like works, arrears, education, health, and others will definitely change as we finalize the budget, so that we take care of the recurrent items which we will not avoid during budget implementation. Mr. Speaker, there is an issue. Why is the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility coming after the budget? Mr. Speaker, we are preparing this budget, and the speech will be read in June. And this budget will become effective on 1st July. Mr. Speaker, until end of June, the charter we have is still effective and valid. So and I will lay proof of consistency to the charter when I bring the estimates on 1st of April. On PDM, Mr. Speaker, this is also a matter which requires cabinet approval. We have all been to the field, and the President has also been to the field, and his findings from the field is that within the next 3 years, all our households should have benefited from PDM. I have, for example, in my constituency where I've been campaigning, I have parishes with over 1,500 households, and other parishes with less than 300 households. And all these households are getting 100 million per annum. So I am of the opinion, for example, that the big parishes should get more than 100 million. But this will require me to go to cabinet and seek the President's guidance about it, and subsequently it will require me and get the input of Parliament about it. But colleagues, if this comes, I want to ask that you support the idea of supporting big parishes with increased PDM financing.
Thank you so much. My question was so much on whether we've done any review to see how effective it is. Not on the allocation. The allocation is very good, the disbursements are okay, but how effective is the program vis-a-vis the money we are injecting in?
Okay. Thank you so much, Enos. I was trying to answer in a more practical way because I have been in the field. I know where the problem is. So the problem is failure to give money to those who want it. Not because, not impersonate, that one is also there. But can we give money to all PDM beneficiaries who want it? Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude like this, that at this stage of budgeting, this is part of the consultations we make in the budget process. At this stage of budgeting, we have taken all the input from both the committee and the plenary. It will all form part of the recommendations by Parliament and comments by Parliament on the budget framework paper. I want to commit that we will try as much as possible to capture your input in the second budget called Satura and in the policy statements. Funds are permitting, and I want to invite you and to ask for your continued support in this budget, especially considering that your timelines, Mr. Speaker, are a little bit stringent, and considering that the term of Parliament is coming to an end. I want to appeal to you that we all sacrifice our time so that we are able to perform this constitutional mandate given to us by the people of Uganda. Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Colleagues, I put the question on the motion for adoption of the National Budget Framework Paper, financial year 2026-2027 to financial year 2030-2031 be approved by this House. Those in favour say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it with a very big single nay. No, there was one very loud nay which should be captured properly. But the ayes have it. Yeah, with a very loud single nay. So, honourable colleagues, I want to congratulate you on this task. I want to repeat this, that we are going to give you enough time to focus on the budget, in the budgeting process, focus on preparations, because this being a transition year, we need to prepare very, very, very well so that we finish the budget by the end of April. Our plan as leadership, once again, is to prorogue the House at the end of April so that we prepare for your swearing in, for the swearing in of the new Parliament, which will be on 13th, 14th, and 15th. Because the President will be sworn in on 12th, and we want to take opportunity of the people you would have brought to attend the President's swearing in, and then yourselves being in Kampala, so that it is done at once. And then we've already agreed with the President about this time. So, House adjourned, sign die.